Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Pablo. Nobody got the cameras out tonight?
No, it started differently tonight.
Yeah, I'd set it up on the phone, so
I didn't actually give me an option.
no.
Probably a good thing, but at least it went to blank screen.
There we go. So I'll ask people to get that video sorted.
You know, you check it out.
Yeah, we'll start video later. Have all been anyway. There we go. Hello, people. Great to see you.
Hey guys.
Oh, doggo.
This is Harper.
What's the crack?
Yes. All good. How are we all?
I not so bad.
Yep. Everyone getting on okay? Getting through the content okay?
Yeah.
Yes, all good. Yeah.
Good. Is that a client you're currently training, Amy? Is it?
No, it was just someone who had replied to my stories recently.
Yeah.
She was basically just telling me that, like, what she's been doing, but
Yeah.
I just you find that a lot of people go right down to 1,200 calories, which is obviously just pull that number out of her head herself.
Yeah.
You know.
It's the same way. Like when we go through the fat loss slides, there was a great slide I used from a study, and they took a group of people who said that they were eating 1,200 calories and said that they were like exercising hard, and what they found was they were underreporting their food by about 200, 250 calories, so they were actually eating about 1,500.
Yeah.
They were over-reporting their exercise output, so they were saying that they were working harder than they naturally were. You see a lot of people say, what, I got trained 7 days a week. Like going balls to the wall 7 days a week is impossible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I know you find that a lot. She probably is eating more than 1,200, or she's maybe eating 1,200 Monday to Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday probably eating 3,000.
Yep.
But in her head, she's still saying I'm eating 1,200 calories a day.
Yeah, it's the best way to do it.
I know.
Or do you want a cup of tea? Oh, shit. How's it going, team? Hope we're good. Welcome. Is there a few that are not going to be on tonight?
No idea
Hello.
at all.
No. Okay, I'll run through just some of the slides that we did last week and just where the questions are going to be for the exam. Let's see. So if you look through the slides, there's pretty much going to be a question for the part. So slide 19, they're going to ask you one of the easy questions: how many calories is in a gram of carbohydrate? It's obviously 4. Are carbs protein sparing? So obviously, what I was saying to Isaac and stuff and a couple of other people earlier is like it takes energy to burn energy. You can't just decide to wake up one day with 0 fuel like from previous days and that day and think that you're going to burn calories. Like you need that energy to fuel you to go and do a workout to obviously burn the calories. So carbs are protein sparing. They are the number 1 energy macronutrient, and when you have sufficient amount of protein in there, carbs in there, you don't need as much protein. Oxidation of fat. So fat burns in a carbohydrate flame, which is the same thing, which is, when you're fueling your body with carbohydrates for a sport or for, the gym, you're burning calories, but you're giving yourself enough to recover, train, and obviously burn stored body fat. And then there will be a question on the 2 storage forms that you have in the body. As you can see here, glycogen and fat. Okay, so fats can also be, let me see if I'm recording this here just to make sure. Yeah. Fat can also be known as triglycerides, okay, or adipose tissue. So don't worry too much about that. There's a question on disaccharides. So the question will be like, which one of these is disaccharide? So just memorize out these: sucrose, lactose, maltose. Simple carb structures, none of these, dietary fiber, GI index.
PJ, will we get all these slides sent to us?
Yeah.
Look over?
Are they not already in the group?
I'm not too sure.
If you go to the group, let me see. Links and docs. No, actually. Here, I'll show them in now.
No, so just so we can go over them ourselves, like have a joke.
Of course. Share that with you guys. There you go. That's that in there now. Okay, carbs and performance. No real question on that. Before actually it's carb loading intake. No. Okay. So let's get started, folks. So tonight we're going to talk about proteins, their role in the body, the job that they provide, the reason why they're essential. It doesn't matter if you're trying to lose weight or build muscle tissue, they're essential for life. And pretty much a lot of misconception about protein. It's for bodybuilders, it's the gold fucking standard. Like it's the most important thing, when in reality it's not. It's pretty much like, the handbrake in your car. It's essential. You need it, but it's not sexy. Like no one talks about it to a degree of like, oh my God, that's going to change my life. Unless you are a bodybuilder or you're trying to lose weight. Most general pop will not really know its role, its function, its job it does. And pretty much you tend to either say to people, listen, protein will help you lose weight, protein will help you build muscle, or protein will help you have nice hair, skin, nails, stuff like that. Okay, so basically protein broken down are classified into amino acids. Okay, so broken down proteins obviously come in and they have these large molecules and they're called amino acids, which pretty much help us to repair and grow every cell in the body, right? So it's not necessarily always muscle tissue that we're obviously repairing or regrowing. Every cell has a natural life that we're turning over, millions of cells every single day. As we get older, our regenerative processes of actually turning over cells and actually forming new cells becomes slower and slower, and that's where the aging process actually happens. Okay, so there's 20 amino acids that are in the body, and they're used to build the blocks. Are split into 2 categories: essential and non-essential. Pretty much essential is what we need to get from our diet. Non-essential is pretty much what our body can produce. So combining both of those, if we have all 20 amino acids, the likelihood of us stimulating muscle protein synthesis, like growing muscle tissue and repairing our body, is a lot higher. Okay, and each of the amino acids has different organic makeup, and they contain carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur. Okay, nitrogen retention and protein synthesis within the muscle tissue are the main building blocks for muscle mass and say. So I'm just going to draw something here to give you an idea. Okay. Okay, no worries. So every single day, no, I'm okay. Every single day, our body wants to be in this homeostatic, right? Let's say baseline. Okay, it wants to be there. Now, it's always in a constant flux of either being below or being above. Sorry guys, I'm back again. Unmute all.
Yes, mate.
Sorry,
Yeah, it's you back now. Yeah.
my Wi-Fi has been mental for the last week or so. I can't get Virgin Media on the actual phone. Okay, so was everybody able to see the whiteboard whenever I started there?
Yep.
I just seen baseline.
Okay, so pretty much our body's in a state of flux every single day, but what it wants is it wants to be at this baseline function. Okay, now every single day we will have days where, you know, we're in a surplus, we're in a deficit, we're in a surplus, we're in a deficit, all this sort of thing, right? And this is happening all around the body. So if we look at the baseline as a general, you know, thermometer or a general sort of way to predict what way we're actually performing, there's always just something there, right? So what will happen is we're constantly fighting between a muscle protein synthesis, actually trying to grow muscle and repair our body and create new cells and turn over new cells. And then we're fighting that with muscle protein breakdown, okay? So pretty much what we're looking at is muscle protein synthesis, the synthesization of new muscle tissue, which takes proteins, amino acids, it takes energy, needs to be greater than muscle protein breakdown. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So every day you're fighting this constant battle of, you know, you having more synthesization than you do breakdown. Okay. Now, if the other way around plays in, okay, if you have muscle protein synthesis is less than breakdown, then this is where you're going to get what we classically known as catabolic. You're going to lose tissue. Now, that tissue is not always necessarily muscle tissue. That could be weight, that could be glycogen, that could be fluid and stuff as well. Okay, so we're always fighting this constant battle. And we can only ever stimulate muscle protein synthesis, you know, on average every 2.5 to 4 hours, okay, based on physiology. Okay, and everyone's familiar with Fast and Furious, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Fast and Furious, you know, he has that wee nitric oxide button that makes the car go really fucking fast, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just hit that button every time he races?
You run out of fuel.
Yeah, runs out of fuel, runs out of gas, doesn't work, you know, as efficient. And that's pretty much what is happening with muscle protein synthesis. You can only ever really use that. It's like your get out of jail free card or your like magic button. You can't just ramp your body up and say, build tissue, build tissue, build tissue, build tissue. Okay, there's a whole process behind that. And if any of you are familiar with the Belgian blue cow, no?
Aye.
Yep. So, yeah. So Belgian blue cow is essentially a cow that has a genetic defect. Okay. So I'll get it up here. Let's take a bit of time here. Screw you, Wi-Fi. There we go. We're good to go. Right, so for those who have not seen this before, this is a Belgian Blue Cow, okay? Pretty much this thing walks and it builds muscle, right? It takes a shit, it builds muscle. You know, it stretches the legs out, it builds muscle. Well, maybe not that one. And that's usually the photo you always see. Now, the reason why this happens is it has a genetic defect. Okay, that genetic defect is called, or what it's lacking is called a myostatin gene. Okay, so it's a gene expression that we have as human beings in our body that stops us from getting too big. Right? That's why we have a genetic ceiling of how big, how strong, you know, that we can possibly get. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yep.
Yep. Then you can surpass that if there's people who are taking performance enhancing and stuff like that. But pretty much we have this myostatin gene. And if anybody is familiar with, you know, like bodybuilders, you know, like someone like Phil Heath, like huge big dude, these big massive Mr. Olympias, right, are huge, carrying a whole host of muscle tissue. If we were back in prehistoric times, right, when there was dinosaurs and shit, like a dinosaur would not even need to run to eat Phil Heath. It would just walk over, pick him up and go, what a fucking tasty snack. We have an internal mechanism, that myostatin gene, that stops us from getting too big so that we can survive as a species, right? Our job is survival. We're top of the food chain right now, but that, you know, we have to be able to adapt. That's why we have metabolic adaptation. That's why we're able to, you know, adjust if we, you know, hurt ourselves or whatever it is. So this Belgian Blue Cow hasn't got this capability. And so therefore, with it constantly turning over cells, constantly growing, it usually dies and has a lifespan that's a lot shorter. Okay? And that's just to sort of emphasize the point of, you know, muscle protein synthesis. You cannot constantly just keep telling your body, I want to get bigger, 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 bigger. There is a point where your body's just going to go, no more. Or you've hit your peak, you've hit your ceiling, you know, you need to do something completely out of the ordinary to progress that on. Okay? So 20 amino acids, essential, non-essential. And these all make up the building blocks of these 20. So we've got arginine, okay, histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methine, polylenine, thyrine, tryptophan, valine, and then non-essential on this side, alanine, asparagine, aspartate, cysteine, glutamate, glutamine, glycine, proline, serine, and tyrosine. Okay, has anybody ever heard of any of those?
No.
Yeah.
What ones?
Glutamine.
What for?
Oh. Glutamine. Oh, it's.
Is that the stuff you take for your like joints?
Yeah. Is it?
No, that would be glucamine sulfate, sorry. Glucosamine.
All right. All right, glutamine.
Yeah,
Would it be for recovery?
Yeah, a lot of people would take it for recovery. A lot of people would take it for improving their gut health. It's an amino acid that's produced in the gut. So if you have gut issues, a good way to help repair your gut would be to have some more glutamine in it. It is non-essential, so your body does produce it. So there's limited research in terms of you actually needing it. Some top-level bodybuilders will take it for recovery, but the evidence is not, you know, massive in terms of it's essential for you to have it for recovery. Does that make sense? There's more important components to recovery than taking glutamine. Now, it's piss cheap. You can get it pretty much anywhere. but it's not something I usually recommend unless we are doing like a gut repair protocol. Somebody who maybe has a leaky gut, somebody who has autoimmune conditions, stuff like that there. But it's all part of a process that we do. Any other things?
Lysine.
Lysine, what for?
You asked me before. Building, is it do with muscle or building muscle or repair?
Well,
Lysine?
the fact that the reason why it's given that you can buy like lysine in like Sahana Bar and separate and stuff as well, and it's given a certain standard is because it is an amino acid and it's a protein. So as a protein, they are repair and building block sort of types. But no, it would pretty much be meaningless without the rest of them. So Halma Bar sometimes have these by the gonads. Anything else?
Fun.
The phenylalanine, it's in diet drinks and things like that, isn't it?
This here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Anything else? Anybody taking any of these or familiar with them?
Leucine's the key one, or one of the key ones for the muscle, isn't it, PJ?
Muscle protein synthesis, yeah. Usually they say that you should, to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, you need at least 3 grams of leucine per meal or per dose of protein. That's why you look at something like chicken, turkey, steak, red meat, stuff like that, has a really high dose of leucine per 100 grams compared to something like, pork. Now, it's not to say that pork is bad. It just has a lower leucine content, which means you would need to eat more of it to get, that muscle protein synthesis. But yeah, leucine is a big one. Does anybody take branched chain amino acids, BCAAs?
Used to, but
I was told they're useless.
Okay. Who was taking them? Joe? Do you?
I did take them years ago.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Hmm?
Any particular reason?
To build muscle.
Okay. Were you doing anything else?
Well, it's of a higher in terms of chicken, but it was just to complement my diet, really.
Okay.
Whilst
Okay. And what way were you eating back then?
well, good sort of high protein diet. So I did have quite a lot. Let me think. Okay, my brunch. I would have taken them before and after training, as well as maybe 100 to 110 grams of protein a day. Carbs 50.
And were you trying to lose weight? And you're sorry.
Lean out, like just try and build a bit of muscle and lean out a little.
Okay. Yeah, so branched chain amino acids, does anybody know which 3 of them make it up?
Is it Filing?
Yeah, valine's one of them.
Filing, lysine, and
Valine and leucine.
and lysine, and can't remember the third one.
The third one is isoleucine. Isoleucine, leucine, and valine are the 3 components that make up branched chain amino acids, and usually they come in a ratio of 2-1-1. 2 parts leucine to 1 part isoleucine, 1 part valine. You'll get a lot of different products now that will maybe make it 3-1-1, 4-1-1, or they'll put in some essential fatty acids just to build the sort of product up. But yeah, like long and short of it, they are broken down proteins, right? So it is, in theory, essentially just like having a protein shake, right? It's digested quicker, it's in the bloodstream quicker because of how, broken down it is. Joe, when you were taking it, were you taking it tablet form or drink form?
Powder. Yeah, it was in powder.
Did it taste good?
No.
No?
No. I got my protein one. No, with nothing in it. So there was nothing. which is pure.
They run.
But you get used to it. Yeah, I got used to it.
Yeah, it just tastes like
It was disgusting.
great thing's worse.
But I did mix it. I did mix it sometimes with a fruit drink. But yeah.
Yeah. So as Owen said, useless, yes and no. The majority of the research will tell you that if you have an adequate enough amount of protein in your diet, you do not need branched chain amino acids, right? You're already getting sufficient amount of protein within your diet that you do not need to waste money on buying a supplement to give yourself more protein in your diet. You can try and slice it and dice it any way you want, going, I want to make sure like I don't get catabolic. You don't just lose muscle tissue by fucking training hard in one session, right? You need to be making sure that you're getting a sufficient amount. Now, on the upside, right, on the plus side of branched chain amino acids, they can, depending on the product, be good for people who are lactose intolerant, because it's more like a juice drink rather than a milkshake for some people. Some veggies and vegans, again, depending on what way they're made and where they're taken from, like you can supplement them with it. And the majority of the benefit that people get from taking branched chain amino acids is the fact that they taste good. Like, I don't know, I'm just off the top of my head, BSM Blue Raspberry, one of my coaches drinks it. Like, he's put that in like a 2-liter tub thing that he carries around. Now, when we go on and we talk about hydration, like later on in terms of nutrition, you will notice that one of the major components of keeping people hydrated is giving them fluids that they enjoy to take, right? So if you have 2 scoops, 10 grams of BCAAs that taste like Blue Millions and it tastes good and you're training, you're getting 2 things, right? You're getting a potential effect of, you know, having amino acids in the bloodstream there. You're also, well, maybe 3 things. You're getting the placebo of maybe this is working. Like, I feel amazing. Like, my training's going class, and it's all because of these BCAAs. And the third thing is you are staying hydrated and you're drinking something that tastes good. And when it tastes good, the inclination for you to want to drink more is higher. So naturally, you're going to be more hydrated. You're going to make sure you have no protein deficiencies. And again, you know, they're not that expensive. So that will be on the upside. But if you're looking at it in terms of purely supplements, if you get an adequate protein intake, you do not need them. Okay?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And most of them are pretty cheap anyway. But again, it just depends on where you want to spend your money. Because if you start buying everything, you'll have a supplement cupboard that's just insane.
You see the way if you're after the gym, so people would take it amino acids and protein. So is that just like counterintuitive?
More or less. One's going
So
to
you're
be
just taking both the same thing, you know what I mean?
yeah. So why buy both products?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So either you just use one or the other?
Yep, 100%. Like we spoke about before, your muscle protein synthesis, your anabolic window post-workout is upregulated for about 48 hours. So like your body's primed to take in nutrients, fuel, proteins, carbs within that 48-hour period. It's not within that 1 month. So, you know, you finishing your 10 grams of BCAAs, then going, you know what, I need more protein here. There is a certain threshold of like the most amount of protein that we need to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. I don't know if I spoke to you guys about this before, but Brad Schoenfeld did a study on actual lifters. And what he found was in order for people to, you know, stimulate muscle protein synthesis, to actually be in a position that they're in a surplus past this baseline, right? It only takes 20 to 40 grams of protein, right? Somewhere within that range. So the problem that I have with protein and have with people who have extraordinary amounts of protein is people will look or maybe see that research and go, you'll hear all the myths. Well, no, there's no point eating any more than 20 grams of protein because that's all you can absorb. That's bullshit, right? That's bullshit 100%. Now, the research says that the minimum effective dose for you to stimulate muscle protein synthesis was 20 grams. And the range, the best range for most people falls between 20 to 40. Okay?
Mhm.
Yep. Here's my problem, or here lies in the problem. Some meathead or somebody will be like, oh, well, if 20 grams is like the minimum I need, right, they'll just do 20 grams. Then you'll have the other meatheads who'll be like, well, if 20 is a minimum, I bet you I get more gains if I go 40. Fuck, if I eat 80 or 100 grams of protein in one serving, I'll get even bigger. It doesn't work like that. Like we spoke about that nitric oxide button. You only need to press it once and it works. Like you can't force it to do more than it can naturally do. So what's actually happening is, like, you could say the rest of the protein that that person is taking in is irrelevant. It's not, because it's still food. It's still an energy source. Your body will still convert that excess protein into a energy source, whether it's, you know, conversion into glucose, or whether it's, you know, into an amino acid pool, or whether it's converted into triglycerides or fat, right? Again, that all comes down to the process that happens throughout the day and the week and so forth. But this is the problem that, like I said, I usually see. It's like people just take information and then think that, you know, if a little bit of it is okay, then more is better. It's not always the case. You know, is Isaac's not in this group, is he? No, he's an alpha, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he messaged me for a bit of advice on protein. I'll not be talking about thing, but his protein intake was insanely high, and I was just like, why? I don't know. That's just what I was told to do. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff like that out there, you know, with no real anecdotal, no real evidence, and people just pushing an agenda. Like, obviously, if you're trying to lose weight, you can increase your protein intake, but there is a certain threshold. It's like anything. There's a certain threshold that you can only get to. There's a ceiling that it's not going to get you any more benefit. The same way that somebody who takes performance enhancing drugs, taking more is not going to give you, you know, better benefit. There is a threshold to what that stuff can do. The same way there's a threshold to what you can do exercise ways and nutrition ways. You know what I mean? So branched chain amino acids, they're not essential. They're not in that group where you'd be like, they're the first thing on my supplement list. They are broken down proteins. They do have their pluses. So I tend to find that I'll use them a little bit more with veggies or vegans, depending on the circumstance. You know, they're a lot cheaper than someone having pea protein or having hemp protein, which are extraordinary amounts of money, especially for the amount of protein that you get in there. And also for a lot of people who don't drink a lot of water, they can taste good and it can get people to sort of, you know, drink a little bit more. So if you are finding that some people do not have a lot of water intake in their diet, simple little ways that you can, you know, get them to drink more. Because like if they're not used to drinking water, if they drink water, it tastes like shit. So they're going to try and dilute it with something anyway. At least, you know, if you put some, you know, broken down proteins in there, females more so because they usually have a lower protein intake. It may be something that it's handy. But then knowing girls now, they'll probably create a BCAA shake and put pink gin in.
That sounds good.
That's it. Yeah, pink Lucozade, BCAAs, and pink gin. I'll do that with beer. Okay, so there's going to be a question on this on the exam. They're going to ask you, what is the recommended intake for a sedentary individual, right? So somebody who sits on their ass and does nothing. Okay, how much protein should they have in their diet? Okay, and it's going to be between 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilo. Okay, 0.8 to 1.2 grams per kilo. And where a strength athlete, someone who trains, is going to be roughly between 1.2 and 2 grams per kilo of body weight. Okay. Now, to give you a scale of how off this is, and the current research is way higher, like in current literature in terms of what's been proven, 2.2 grams per kilo is equivalent to 1 1 gram per pound. Okay, most people I work with, males especially, we will start, like if I was going from scratch with someone, 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. Now, even that for a new individual is high. The reason why it's high is because protein should be set on the person's lean mass, not on their total body mass. But if you don't have a way to, figure that out, you don't have a hydrostatic weigh-in, you don't have, a bod pod, you don't know what their lean mass is compared to their fat-free mass, their fat mass compared to their fat-free mass. Fat-free mass would include skin, hair, bones, nails, muscle tissue. Fat mass is all adipose tissue that we have in the body. Okay, so if you don't know that, there is no downside to having additional protein in your diet, right? So you can have it a little bit higher than natural and still get results. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this research is quite outdated, but you need to know these answers for the exam. When I cover the fat loss stuff, I'll cover the more up to date. And the more up to date, we're looking at 1 gram to 1.5, 1 gram to 1.5 grams up to maybe 1.8 grams per pound of body weight, which would probably be, almost 2.2 to maybe 4 grams per kilo. So a completely different, threshold. So 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 4 calories. There will be another wee easy question on that. Your protein intake should be in a range between 15 to 35%. Anywhere between 15 to 30% is good for most people. If it's on the 15% side, you're probably looking at people who are athletes, high-level athletes, endurance-based sports, or people who exercise quite regularly throughout the day. The reason why is their protein intake is so low is because that is not their most important macronutrient. Their most important macronutrient is carbohydrates and fats. Okay, so you only need a sufficient amount. The same way we look at, someone who's in the Tour de France, someone who competes in cycling, their major macronutrient is carbs. They're not there to eat a huge amount of protein to get bigger, but if they want to get bigger, they actually want to get lighter. They want to improve their power to weight ratio. They don't want to get bigger in terms of size or weight. So anywhere between 15 to 30%. The higher end is going to be for people who are either bodybuilding, trying to lose weight, build muscle tissue, strength, stuff like that. People frequently take protein supplements, but they often contain proteins that don't have good quality and they have an incomplete set of amino acids, making the supplements, shit, essentially. The best protein supplement is obviously good quality food. I think everyone would agree with that. If you're getting enough from your diet, you don't need these sort of things, but you are paying for convenience. Vegetarians consume optimal protein quality by combining all the different plant-based and wheat and grain-based proteins to make up all those 20 amino acids. Okay, so by combining cereal, rice, wheat, oats with legumes or legumes, whatever way you want to pronounce them, and nuts, and then obviously vegetarians are a little bit more at risk because they're lacking usually in B12 and iron. That's not to say they can't get it in their diet, but it's usually where they're lacking. Okay. Now,
can I just ask? So then, your branched chain amino acids.
Yep.
Are they the same then as the supplement? This just essential
PJ,
amino.
can I-
Sorry.
Are they the same then? Is the supplement essential amino acids the same then as your Bacchus? Are they totally separate?
They are, but essential will probably just have more in them. So if you look at it, your BCAAs are in your essential.
Yeah.
But what you'll usually find in your essential amino acids is they'll just have various different levels of these.
Mm-hmm.
So primarily what the process is built on is if you have all 20 amino acids, you have all the resources there to recover or build muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Right? We actually create these in the body, these non-essential. So pretty much what you're doing is you're just giving your body the rest of them to do the role that it needs to do. So yeah, essential amino acids are just higher content. You will find a lot of proteins will have all 20 amino acids in them, because when you create these or when these companies create these products, they create it for a convenient need, and they create it because like they want the product to actually work. So basically all they're doing is putting all the stuff that you need in there and just saying, just take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what you're paying for in terms of that convenience. But yeah, they'll just be different amounts. Joe?
PJ,
Yeah.
you see, just on like an athlete wise for protein,
Yep.
you know, if it's like a Gaelic player, obviously they need a mix of high carbs and high protein. So what way would you set their diet plan out, or
Do they need a mix of high protein?
high protein and high carbs? Obviously they perform in Gaelic, like for matches.
Well, what I'm saying is, do they need a high protein?
I will obviously they do a lot of weights, so like strength training.
Yeah, understand that. But is that their sport?
No.
So
Well, they need to be strong and they need to be quite
100%.
big as well when you look at most of them.
I agree with that, but their primary macronutrient is carbohydrates. They're being vain if they're going, I want to be strong, I want to be big. So they don't actually need a high protein intake. They need a moderate.
Moderate, right?
So you're talking 25% of their diet. So if you're talking someone on a 3,000 calorie diet, you're talking anywhere between 150 to 180 grams of protein, which is more than enough.
Yeah.
Because if they are practicing as hard as they should be, training every day in terms of their sport, they shouldn't have 5-6 days to actually weight train. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So their biggest benefit to their sport is carbs. So that I wasn't saying that you were wrong. I was just questioning why you think you need a high protein diet for an athlete. And
So see on the days that they're training, would you put their protein up and then so like change their macros throughout the week maybe? They train like, you know what I mean?
You could do, which would give you a lot of hard work. The other thing is that protein is one of those things that remains pretty consistent across the board. Like you don't really need to have huge swings on it, you know, unless you are trying to lose weight where you would potentially increase your protein intake. There's no real reason. Once you get an adequate amount, it's done its job. Like it's pretty much done what it needs to do. It's a run seal. It does what it says on the tin and no more. So you would just need an adequate amount of protein to make sure they recover so they're not getting DOMs. But again, that will still come down to carbohydrates. So the research says what's more effective? Protein post-workout, carbohydrates post-workout, proteins and carbs post-workout. And we know that proteins and carbs is probably the best thing to get. And then carbs is the best thing. And then the least important is protein post-workout. So, I would look, Bud, at just keeping it consistent across the board. Like you can turn around and say, oh, I want to build loads of muscle tissue and like, you know, I want to be big and strong for my sport. First off, if I was you, I would say, is this warranted in your sport? One of the big misconceptions I have against GAL players and hurlers is they're more infatuated with getting big. You know what I mean? To take the hits, when in reality, they're sacrificing a lot more. I don't know if I was telling you about, there's people familiar with a guy called James Haskell, does House of Rugby Now podcast. He's used to be a rugby player. Yeah. So he was interviewed by Ben Coomber a few years ago, which I thought was a great podcast. And he's played in the Southern Hemisphere. He's played in Japan. He's played in France and England. Ben Coomber asked him, what was the difference between, you know, playing in the Southern Hemisphere from like the way that they train their kids and upwards to what we do here in England. And he says kids in England are more worried about getting big. They know that they need to be, you know, muscular, they need to be huge, they need to be able to take the hits. Whereas kids in New Zealand are pretty much focusing on their sport. And for me, GA and hurlers are coming out the other side of it, but they were bodybuilding when it wasn't really necessary for their sport. Does that make sense?
Yep. Because you see some of them on the pitch and they're absolutely huge.
Yeah. If you can still move, as long as you're still practicing your sport and you're still adequately able to move. I don't want to sound like an old time fart, like a boxing coach who's like, oh no, weights makes you slower, and weights, as long as you do it in a adequate way. But yeah, in terms of your protein intake, you would only need a moderate amount, but 20%, 25% is huge, more than enough. Get the rest in from their carbs.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Good. Anything else on that, or was there anywhere you want to go down with that?
No, that's answered it there. Just done a few notes here. Brilliant. Cheers.
Man, honestly, like, protein is not this fucking miracle thing. It doesn't cause people to start developing, tissue out of nowhere and making them this huge thing. And you'll find a lot of misconception as people think that, and they just eat more and more and more of it. When you're losing out on carbohydrates, you're losing out on fats. So, yeah, for an athlete, you're talking moderate protein, high carb, moderate fat. So, unfortunately, it's not as sexy as people make it sound out. So, what we've got here at the top of the screen is we have animal-based products, yogurts, milks, dairies, meats, that are all equivalent to 10 grams of protein. Okay, so you've got 2 small eggs. Your normal small egg is equivalent to about 4.5 grams, 5 grams of protein, and 5 grams of fat. Okay, give or take size of it. 40 grams of lean chicken cooked is equivalent to 10 grams. To give that a little bit of insight, everyone's bought like those, packets of chicken from Bernard Matthews or Turkey for £1. Yeah?
Yeah.
At some point, they have 100 grams in them. And I can guarantee, I look at it and go, there's not a lot of chicken in there. So, like, when you get 20, 30 grams of protein, it might not look like a lot on a plate. Okay. 30 grams of reduced fat cheese. Obviously, if it's reduced fat, the protein content is going to be higher. Okay. So if it had a higher fat content, then the calories and the amount of protein would be down. 50 grams of grilled fish, 70 grams of cottage cheese, 50 grams tin of tuna or salmon. Again, to give that a little bit of context, your average tin of tuna or salmon drained is about 125 grams, and that would be equivalent to about 25 grams of protein. Low-fat milk, 200 grams of reduced fat yogurt, 35 grams of lean beef, lamb or pork, and then 150 grams of fromage frais. Okay, everybody get that?
Yeah.
So 100 grams of chicken does not make 100 grams of protein. Because you will get people that will ask you this, and there will be people going, I had 300 grams of protein. How did you? I had 300 grams of chicken yesterday. Okay, so just explain that as well, various different macronutrients. Now, we look at the bottom part, and this is for more vegetarian and vegans. To get 10 grams of protein, you will, on average, again, depends on the bread, 4 slices of whole wheat bread. Okay, so each slice is about 120 grams. Your average slice of bread is anywhere between 120 to 140 calories as well. 200 grams of baked beans, which again, normal baked beans is usually half a tin. 3 cups, 90 grams of whole grain cereal. 90 grams is probably a normal person's portion size, whereas on the box it'll probably tell you only have 30 grams. Does anybody have just the normal portion size of cereal?
No.
Never.
It's like that.
Double.
Wait it out and realise how little it is.
Yeah. Like, we've chocolate shreddies in the house and we never have them, and she bought them and I'm like, these are done in 3 bowls.
Granola's terrible for that,
And it costs as well. 120 grams of tofu, 2 cups of pasta, which, like, when you put 2 cups in, it's a huge amount. 60 grams of nuts and seeds. Most places will do like a 150 or I think it's 250 gram bag, and then there's ones, I know Tesco were doing like these wee miniature 60 gram snack pots, right? 3 cups or 400 grams of cooked rice, 300 mils of soy milk, 3/4 cup of lentils or kidney beans, and 100 grams of soy meat. I think he's actually snoring here. Okay, so what are some of the issues with, the vegetarians and vegans are going to have in terms of protein content?
You're not going to get complete protein sources.
Yeah, but if they bring a couple of different sources together, they can make those 20 amino acids up. So they potentially, yeah, they could get that. But yeah, I know what you mean. They don't have all the amino acids in the actual single product of food, whereas meat will have all 20 essential, or sorry, will have all the essential amino acids they need, and will have more of a complete set. Does that make sense for people? That's always been the debate of, meat eaters against plant-based. They don't contain the essential amino acids if you need it in one single food, where meat generally does. But it's not to say that you can't, make that up. Has people watched Game Changers?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your thoughts?
This would say some aspects of it is disingenuous, PJ, because they don't tell the whole story. I kind of feel like it's to promote the diet, to maybe profit off it. Like the newest fad, like it's going to be the newest fad diet, like it was.
Yeah.
It's just they don't give out the full facts. Like there's a lot of essential nutrients that are in meat that you just can't get from a plant-based diet.
Okay. And when you watched it, how did you feel?
Well, it opened my eyes up to a couple of different things, but at the same time, though, I thought, I can see what they're like the game they're playing here. It's just they're no different really from other people in the industry just trying to.
Yeah, they're trying to push an agenda that favors them.
Yeah, 100%.
Again, a lot of people in the industry and other sides will do themselves. Anybody else? Any thoughts on it?
What is that? What was that?
It's on Netflix, Cora. It's called Game Changers, and it's basically a vegan documentary, which has promoted plant-based eating as more or less the way forward for everybody, and that we should be doing it in terms of getting stronger, fitter, leaner. So if you have time, stick it on, watch it. I don't want to rip into it.
Yeah, I think I watched it. Is it the one more about Arnold? I don't know how to say his second name. And it talks about him not eating meat.
Yes, so he's turned vegan. Yeah.
Is that true? Would you kind of think that is true that?
Listen, there's a study done called the Harvard study, and it was done over a 25-year period, and it has proven conclusively that following a plant-based diet is better for your health. Right?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the research that they put out, again, suited their own agenda. I didn't want to watch it. I'd heard about it, and I didn't want to watch it. My partner wanted to watch it. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to take a notepad. I'm going to write down some of the studies, and I'm going to look at them. Every time a study came up, it flashed, and then it disappeared, where you couldn't take it down and go, I'm going to look into that a little bit more.
Right.
That's what a lot of us can do. We can take studies and make them fit our methodology or whatever it is we're doing. So, yeah, there was a lot of bumming and blowing saying this is the best thing since sliced bread, and look at all these athletes. These athletes are doing it, and that makes them, special. The conversation I had with Alpha on Tuesday was, you cannot surmise that one thing is the determining factor to improve performance, weight loss, whatever it is. Because if that was the case, we could look at stuff that, the World Health Organization, a few years ago, they said that bacon was carcinogenic, right? That the chemicals were on it, that it was smoked with and stuff like that there. It had properties to cause cancer, right? So the whole world went mental, and they were like, oh my God, we can't have bacon anymore. Like, what's going on? Unfortunately, we're not rats. Now, I know there's certain compounds that are linked to cancerous, cells and stuff in the body, but no one in this life is sitting in the house just eating bacon 24/7. Right? So it's hard to actually turn around and say, that is the reason why, this happened, or this is the reason why this happened. So whenever they're attributing, a couple of years later, they would turn around and realize they're like, okay, well then, sorry, fat is not cancerous and it doesn't cause all these things, or sorry, bacon isn't and it doesn't cause all these issues. So there's always people flipping and flapping, changing their opinions. And the greatest opinion I heard was from a guy called John Berardi, Precision Nutrition. Have any of you heard of him? Yeah.
Yeah.
My first thoughts were, this is full of shit. You know, too much fucking propaganda, all thrown in your face. I always just personally feel when anything's thrown in my face like that, I automatically just reject it. I'm like, do you know what? Even if it was the best diet, because you're pushing this on me, I'm just not interested. If I come to that conclusion over time, I would take that more. But John Berardi said a really cool thing. Like, I would have naturally went, it's full of crap. It's, you know, a lot of other people would have. But he said this cool thing, and it really stuck with me, and it really made me think about the approach that we have as coaches and the influence that we have as coaches on people. And he says that if your client has watched something like Game Changers, right, and they come to you and they say, you know, Cora, like, I watched that Game Changers documentary, like, I'm thinking about going vegan, like, what do you think? Now, if you believe it's full of crap, you could turn around and go, it's full of shit and blah, blah, blah. But John Berardi was like, okay, look at this in a completely different context. Your client, okay, has came to you, they've watched the documentary, whether it's good or not, but they're asking you about something that can improve their health. They are taking an interest in their own health. Is that not what we should be encouraging as coaches?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, our job is to get people enthused about health, fitness, eating good quality food, how it makes you feel, like, you know, the energy levels you have, your sleep, your strength, how that then translate on your confidence. So when he said that, I was like, do you know what? Like, instead of me shooting that down, maybe I should just ask the question, okay, well, tell me what you got from that documentary, and, you know, let's see if this is something that we can do, because instead of shooting it down, that person who has never thought about eating well or doing anything is going to try something, and it's our job as people who are more experienced to guide them in the right path. And once I heard that, I was like, you know, that really makes sense. And John Berardi has an awesome book that just came out this year. I bought every one of my coaches it, which was called Change Maker, not Game Changer, Change Maker. And it's about how to build a fitness business, but being a more client-centered coach. Because at the end of the day, what we believe in doesn't matter. It's what we can get our clients to believe in. So if I, just to give you an example, if all I believe in is eating 6 meals a day and bodybuilding, when a client comes to me, what are they going to get? They're going to get 6 meals a day and they're going to get bodybuilding, because that's all I know and that's all I believe in. Whereas if I have more of an open-minded approach, you know, I've helped people who have been vegan, vegetarian, pescatarians, people who are meat eaters, people who want to try keto or fasting or whatever it is. I've now worked with people who are transgender, you know, different illnesses, conditions. So I pretty much work across the board. And the one thing that sticks out is if you have that person's best interests at heart, they'll understand that, they'll feel that, and then your job as a coach is obviously to guide them. And that's why we never call this course that we're delivering here, it's not a personal training course, it's a coaching certification. Your job is to be able to coach and manage people so that you can get them results. So yeah, go away, watch it, form your own opinions on it. But yeah, if you think of the John Berardi approach, it may be something that's easier for everybody on this call to think of, rather than lashing out and saying whether you agree with it or not. Just maybe digging to the bottom of it with a client, because I could tell you, psychological ways, the one thing that, or one reason that a lot of clients don't get results is because they don't think about what they have to do. They don't think about their food. They don't see exercise as fun. They see it as a means to an end and a chore. So if we can encourage that and get them more interested in that, if they're watching fucking CrossFit on TV, the CrossFit Games, and they're asking you about Game Changers, they're taking an interest in exercise and fitness. So encourage that. What are the other downsides essentially for somebody who's trying to lose weight on this vegan diet? or vegetarian diet?
Love a brave bit more food do you eat to get the protein intake?
100%, Joe. Like they're going to have to eat more food to get an adequate protein intake. Which more food? What does that usually mean?
More calories.
More calories.
More calories. What is the number one thing that determines whether we lose weight or not?
Calorie deficit.
Yep, if they're in a caloric deficit. So it makes that job a little bit harder. We had a client before. I'll tell you the nickname we give him. It was Declan. Okay. His original name was Declan. This is a guy who came to us who was vegetarian and was doing a transformation course with us. No biggie. We're still able to get him a good, adequate amount of protein in his diet. Decides halfway through a transformation course that he wants to go vegan. Right? Don't know why, but we had issues with him from the start. You know, after about 4 weeks, I had him in the office having a chat with him, and he was like, I don't know if this course is worth the money. I says, why? He says, I'm not losing weight. Have you been following the diet we give you? No. Like, why not? I just don't like the food. Okay, right. Is there anything we can do? We'll change the diet up. And then a couple of weeks later decides he wants to go vegan. So I read him a vegan diet to follow. You know, I was like, okay, you're not getting a huge amount of protein here. So, you know, that chicken curry, that curry that you're making, vegetable curry, you're probably going to have to add some pea protein in there. You know, a couple of scoops. Do you think you can do that? Yes. A couple of weeks later, have you been doing that? No. I'm like banging my head against a wall going, there's only so much that I can do. Like, you're paying a big amount of money. Like, I'm trying to provide everything that I possibly can to get you results, but you're not willing to go and do it. And this is a guy who decided to go vegan, but was eating protein bars. And when another vegan says to them, those protein bars are not vegan, they have the gelatin or something in them, he was like, sure, it's okay. I had a couple of sausages the other week at a barbecue. So, you know, you're going to have to eat more calories, essentially, to try and get the same amount of protein intake, which can hinder your weight loss, which, again, for Declan, wasn't going to help him when he's trying to obviously get shredded. Okay? So, yeah, just take that into consideration. You can mix these up and get your amino acid profile together. It obviously takes a lot more food and a lot more portion size. And, you know, if an average bread has about 12, 16 slices, if you want 40 grams of protein, you know, you're eating a whole loaf. You know, it's a lot for people to actually be able to take in. Okay. So what's the difference between a complete protein source and an incomplete?
One has all the amino acids, the other doesn't.
More or less. Yeah, bingo. You know, the incomplete is more your veggie vegan options, which need other sources to be brought together to complete them. Where you look at something like an animal-based product like meat, usually has all the essential amino acids that you need, and then obviously paired with the non-essential that we create, gives us the best environment for stimulating muscle protein synthesis, growing tissue and stuff like that. Okay, does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a client who's vegan or vegetarian, what advice would you give them in terms of having adequate amounts of protein to build lean muscle mass? What advice would you give them?
Vegan protein shakes.
Would you also recommend then the likes of BCAAs as a supplement if they are?
Yeah, you got to be careful which ones you do recommend though. Some are derived from, you know, just whey-based proteins.
Yeah.
But you can get other ones. But yeah, supplements are probably going to be your saving grace. Again, I had another client who was vegan, and you know, I'm not a chef, not the greatest cook. I'm pretty much bog standard, chicken and rice. I like that. She came to me. She was like, "Oh, I'm getting bored of eating the same foods." I bought her a recipe book, vegetarian recipe book, different curry, stuff like that. And then again, she was like, "Oh, I'm really bored." And I'm sitting there going, "Well, I'm fucking sorry, but you're limited by the food choices that you have So like, you know, I'm not a Michelin star chef. I don't know, just use a different spice or something. You know, so you're limited by a choice. So supplements are going to probably be a huge part of your diet. What's the problem? Has anyone ever bought a pea or a hemp protein?
Yes, disgusting.
Yeah. What else? What else is some of the downsides to it?
I've bought vegan protein. Like, it's a bit feels like there's like rocks on it or something.
Mm.
You like, buddy.
It doesn't make you to the bathroom more or something. I don't know.
A lot of the time they're very pricey. They're very pricey for what you get. So your average pea protein for a 500 gram bag is about 20 quid, right? So 500 gram bag. The last one I had, or well, someone had, was a 5 gram scoop, right? So you needed about 4 or 5 scoops to actually get like 20, 30 grams of protein in this. And then it was like, this bag is done in like 6 days. So it can be really, really pricey for them compared to whey-based. And then a lot of people are dead against supplements. Like they'll naturally just tell you straight to your face, I don't want to take any supplements. Oh, I didn't say you had to. Why not? I just don't believe in them. Okay. Have you ever had any of them? Nope, just don't believe in them. Okay. You know, I may be a conversation of saying, listen, you may need to do this because you're not going to be getting enough from your diet. Based on what you've told me here, you're not hitting anywhere near the adequate amount of protein intake. And you have a couple of options. You can increase foods here, or you can try a supplement. And then straight away, you put the ball back into their court. Let me see. Adequate amounts of protein. Yeah, they're probably going to have to eat a shitload of food. Are there advantages or disadvantages of being a vegetarian or a vegan when strength training? Are there advantages to being vegan?
As long as you get enough calories in, then it shouldn't, no matter what diet you're on, as long as you get enough carbs in, like your strength training should be consistent.
Yeah, more or less. Anybody else got an opinion?
Well, as long as you're addressing any nutrient deficiencies, like if I think B12 is a big deficiency, PJ.
Yeah.
That's massive for your energy levels.
Yep, it's one of your energy metabolism vitamins. Anything else? No. So there's a guy, Mark Burns, who's on the Alpha group. Mark was vegan for a while, and I asked this question. He was like, "Yeah," he says, "I noticed a benefit. Like I definitely felt stronger, and you know all this." There's a couple of ways we can look at this. If you are talking purely, there's no real context here, right? If you're talking purely about strength, right? Strength is neurological, okay? What that means is if you want to get good at bench pressing, you have to bench press. You got to practice the movement, right? And obviously manage your recovery. And what should happen is you should get better at the movement, which means you can lift more weight, okay? So practicing that movement, low volumes, high frequency, is probably going to be the best thing for you to get better. Okay, there's a perfect program there called Easy Strength where you deadlift 5 times a week. Right? Some people will be like, "Oh, it's way too much. Like it takes too much out of your body." Not if you don't lift it heavy enough. Okay. The other thing is, and what I'd say to Mark is, he was like, "I put a lot more carbs in my diet, so I felt like I had more energy when I trained. I felt like I was stronger. I felt like I recovered better." Right. Now, here's what I said to him on the crux of that. The problem I have with that, and it's just the reason why I say I have a problem, is because he now has a bias that believes that that was the reason why he got stronger. Okay? Yeah? Is everybody with me? So he believes all those carbs. Now, here's my issue. He probably, we don't know this, before he became vegan, was probably not eating enough calories. he was probably maybe not doing the same amount of training. He was probably not getting enough carbohydrates in his diet. What do you think happens if he eats more carbs, has more calories in his diet, and maybe trains differently?
Stronger.
Is he going to notice a benefit?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So this is the reason why, if I go back to that World Health Organization, like the bacon thing, it's really hard to attribute your success or your feelings down to one thing, because there's so many different factors within that. You know what I mean? Like, even the guy Isaac on Alpha, he messaged me today. I told him to increase his calories, and he wants to lose like 7 pounds. He didn't lose any weight this week, and he was like, "Dude, I don't know what happened. Increased my food, and I didn't lose any weight. What do I do?" I says, "Increase your food again." But I want to lose weight, and I'm like, "Yes, you need additional energy to burn excess energy off. How's your sleep? How's your training? Blah blah blah." Well, I'm training twice a day. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Increase your food. And he was like, "I don't get this." And it's like, you have a high energy expenditure, right? What's going to happen is when you increase your calories, right, you're going to sleep better. Your strength's going to go through the roof, and you're going to lose weight. And he just couldn't wrap his head around this. So yes, he is actually in a caloric deficit, and probably has been for a good period of time. And now all I'm doing is taking him out of that caloric deficit, and he should lose weight. But we don't know, again, in Mark's case, what he was doing before, why he found that benefit. So if you do get someone who comes to you with a smug look on their face and saying that vegan is life, and starts slamming it down your throat, why? Oh, well, I have more energy. Like, Cora, if you go and watch this documentary, you'll find this dude who's like, when I changed to vegan, I was able to do battle ropes for an hour and 10 minutes instead of 10 minutes. So fuck. Like, does that mean that that's the best diet? No. Like, okay, I have a plant-based diet. It made me go to the toilet more often. There's a benefit.
Will it be placebo effect, PJ, as well?
Sorry?
Will it be placebo effect as well?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that to go into it. So even anything you do, taking a supplement, thinking that you're doing something, there's always placebo that makes you think, that you can get adequate amounts. So it's hard to decipher where the backstory is. So when someone goes to you, I'm an endurance runner, and like, I prefer fats as a source of fuel. Why? Oh, because it gives me more energy. Well, that's you. But the research is saying if you're an endurance runner, carbs are probably better for you. You know what I mean? So sometimes when people push an agenda, or we don't really know where they've came from previously, it's hard to decipher. Now, to round that all up, I'm very much a believer of, you need a shitload of blood tests and all this stuff to determine whether you're lactose intolerant, or you're celiac, or, like any of this stuff, like you're nutrient deficient. I'm a big believer in is, if you feel better doing what you're doing, do it. Like, if you come to me and say, do you know what? Like, I prefer gluten-free diet. I just feel better on it. I'd be like, awesome. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So we think back to John Brody. What is the client-centered approach? Does it need me to go in and rip that person's beliefs apart, unless it's something that is really horribly wrong? Or does it need me to go, do you know what? That's awesome, Shay. Like, let's just keep doing what you're doing because it's currently working. And if you feel that you can follow that diet and follow that approach, I'm all in with you, but you know what I mean? So sometimes you just need to take the coach's hat off and look at it as a client-centered approach. And then we don't have all these fancy resources to find out if somebody is gluten intolerant. So if they feel better on it, keep it out of your diet. I'm happy with that. Okay. Do you think that healthy fats and lean proteins are interrelated? Okay, so do they have a relationship? How could this help a client who has a goal of losing body fat? So is healthy fats and lean proteins important for people to lose body fat? Thoughts? Shout out.
It depends because like so you get healthy fats in avocado, but it's really calorific. So if they're looking to lose body fat, you wouldn't give them healthy fats. And also nuts are really healthy fats, but they're very calorific. So they're really easy to overconsume. So they're going to put on body fat if they eat too much of, even if they're healthy fats and lean proteins. You know what I mean? All comes down to a calorie deficit at the end of the day.
Yep, 100%. The reason why I like that answer, not just from you and in general as well, is because now we start to look outside the concept that certain foods are healthy. Like we look outside the bubble of going, oh, that's a good food. Because this is what happens. People put things in boxes. That is good for you. That is bad for you. Stay away. Do this. Right? Whereas we know that, no, you can, like I said to Shay last week, have a Mars bar, have a Chinese. Did you put on a stone? No, you didn't. So it's not fucking bad for you. Your body can process it. It breaks it down like anything that you put in your body. So yeah, like they do have a important relationship because we do know that we need proteins to rebuild cells and tissues. We're going to talk about it here in a second. They are important transporters for the body. We do know that having healthy fats in our diet gives us good energy supply. It also helps build certain hormones. It keeps our cells healthy. So I always tell people you can lose weight and not be healthy, right? You could starve yourself and lose weight. You can eat all the crap in the world and put on weight, right? So you don't need to be healthy to do that. But what makes those two processes and anything that you want to do with your body a lot easier is if you keep it healthy. And the premise is if you're doing 80% of, eating well, good quality, single ingredient foods, a little bit of crap, you're still moving, you're stretching, you're lifting, you're moving your body, you're pretty much going to be in a great position. And that's the position that, most people would love to be in right now, especially with this current pandemic. Any of the research of, what people will tell you is a strong immune system is the only real defense we have against this. So if you looked after your body, you put yourself in a better position to tolerate, stuff that's going on. So yeah, they do have an interrelationship. They are not mutually exclusive. You don't need them to lose weight, but they do generally help. And if you can't disassociate them, we were talking yesterday about, an average medium-sized avocado, a full one, is about 300 calories. If you have that on top of your poached eggs, your bacon, your sourdough bread, the hipster breakfast, you're probably talking 8 to 1,200. We were actually talking about Joe Wicks as well, and initially how everyone is lapping him up at the minute because of the stuff that he's doing with the kids in the morning, which I'm all for. It's brilliant. But his first book was flawed. He was promoting healthy food, and he was then, obviously you have to create polarity, but this healthy food was then creating bad relationships for people with food. One of his breakfasts was scrambled egg with chorizo cooked in coconut oil. You're talking, depending on the portion, say somewhere up to 900 calories. Some people were realizing, oh, I'm not losing weight, but I'm following Joe Wicks' diet. So yeah, they're not mutually exclusive. Hello? Everybody still hear me? Yeah. Hello? Guys, can you still hear me?
No.
You're back.
I can't hear you.
Yes, apologies. Yeah, sorry about that. The basically where I just got to was Joe Wicks, was it?
Yeah, Joe Wicks.
Yeah. So yeah, the information he put out was factually incorrect, but what can you do? And now he follows more of a calorific model. He believes that calories in, calories in out is the way forward. The same way that Weight Watchers and Slimming World have now, changed tilt. And you'll realize whenever we do the nutrition presentations, whoever has something like Atkins diet, you know, that these diets have all evolved over the years to come into trend with the sciences. So, yeah, they don't have a mutually exclusive relationship, but yeah. Okay, so functions of protein. Enzyme and protein synthesis. So basically there's hundreds of tissues within the body that are made up of proteins, that need proteins to do that, okay? They are transporters, okay? So they help transport certain nutrients within the body, and those transporters need protein, okay? They are a source of energy. 1 gram of protein is equivalent to 4 calories. Hormone production, we need it to produce testosterone, okay, for us boys, just to give an example there, okay? So use in hormone production as well. Fluid balance helps keep the fluid balance between the blood and the surrounding tissues. This helps maintain blood volume and sweat rates during physical activity. Acid-base balance. Proteins can make an acidic environment less acidic and an alkaline environment less alkaline. High intensity activity can increase cellular acidity through lactate buildup, which protein can help buffer. So protein can be a lactate buffer, a bit like your beta-alanine, your citrulline malate. These things that produce carnosine that buffer lactic acid getting into the body. Not a huge amount of a factor, most people will notice, but yeah. And obviously the main one that we always talk about, growth and tissue maintenance. So protein is needed to build and maintain muscle tissue. So if you have too much protein in your diet, okay, some of the things that could potentially occur. High levels of protein can, you know, produce a huge amount of acids in the body. This is caused by an introduction of sulfates and phosphates. The kidneys counteract this increase in blood acid levels by secreting acid. At the same time, the bones release calcium, which is unfortunately lost in urine. In the long term, this can lead to the weakening of bones and osteoporosis. Now, the current literature will tell you that there is no cause and effect of having a high protein diet and somebody having kidney problems, right? Now, would it be advised that if you have existing kidney problems to not have as high a protein diet? Yes, it would. Even though the research says that there's nothing conclusive to say that a high protein diet causes kidney issues or exacerbates current kidney issues, it is probably important to, again, follow a doctor's medical advice and maybe just have a low to moderate. The other aspect of this, to get to the point where you suffer bone loss or real like kidney issues, you would have to be eating an obscene amount of protein every day for a shit long period of time for you to do that amount of damage. And what you're probably going to do if you are doing that is you're probably going to neglect two, if not definitely 100% one macronutrient. So you may reduce your carbs to make sure that you get a superficially high protein intake into your body. Okay. So kidney damage, if a high protein diet can place a burden on the liver, okay, which obviously has to break this down, metabolize the protein, and the kidneys. This has serious implications and can cause electrolyte imbalance. Obviously, if you're going to the bathroom a little bit more, your body's trying to regulate those acids. Loss of lean tissue and depletion of glycogen stores. This is very bad news for you if you're trying to preserve lean body mass. In addition, some research highlights that high protein diets can suppress the absorption of fats, which obviously via the formation of ketones, because your body is now using protein as a source of energy, right, to be converted, okay, rather than using fats to be converted into ketones. Okay, but again, just to go back, even though that research says that, the research is not conclusive to causing kidney issues. And to do this sort of stuff, you would need to have superficially high dose for a very, very, very long time. Okay. Ketones are a waste product of protein metabolism, and if weakness is already in the kidneys, a high protein intake could exacerbate. Excessive protein consumption could augment the risk of kidney stones by increasing the quantity of oxalate, which combines with calcium. Okay, so kidney stones, again, caused by a couple of different things like that. So calcium and oxalate combining to create those stones. Dehydration, if you're consuming a high protein diet and not enough adequate carbs, which is a common scenario for bodybuilders, then your body will be in a state of ketosis. Okay, again, not agreed. You need to be in a state, to get into a state of ketosis, you need to have a low to no carbohydrate diet for, upwards of 10 to 14 days. And there's a transition period, just don't go into ketosis. The other thing of dehydration is technically true. Your body needs to heat up to break down the protein. So when it's doing that, it's obviously using valuable energy, and that heat is obviously going to be respiring, liquid and stuff as well. So it can lead to, a less adequate intake of water. And we obviously know that our muscle tissue is primarily made up of water, and carbs on average are going to have 2 to 4 grams of water per every gram. So if you're not getting carbs in your diet, you have a super high protein diet, you're probably going to be dehydrated to a certain degree. Build-up of toxins sends the kidneys into overdrive, and this process as more water is passed out as urine. The mechanism can increase the incidence of dehydration, and is further heightened when exercising due to sweat loss. Okay, so the only time this would probably happen for bodybuilders is if they're doing a photo shoot or they're going to do a competition. They're in the final weeks of it, and they're maybe doing, just meat and veg to a degree. Okay. Muscle loss. So the guidelines for assessing the amount of protein that you need, on a daily basis is calculated by the amount of nitrogen that you lose in your urine and bowel movements. And if we think back to that little graph that I drew of you thinking about being in a surplus, so your surplus, your muscle protein synthesis needs to be higher than your breakdown, and that will usually happen is you need to keep your nitrogen levels pretty high. Nitrogen is the main component of the protein. You need to replenish that, which is lost on a daily basis. Amino acids are the building blocks of cells of the body. One of the main areas that are needed for growth of tissue is your obviously muscle tissue. And without enough protein in your daily diet, the body will start to cannibalize the muscle tissue to access the protein that it needs to function effectively. Okay, that last statement I do not agree with. And the reason why is you don't suddenly just lose muscle tissue overnight. You don't just wake up after not eating for 8 hours and having 8 hours sleep and going, oh my God, where did all my gains go? That doesn't happen. Okay, so our body can store amino acids. We have an amino acid pool within the body. We store it in our hair, our skin, our bone, our nails, our muscle tissue. So there is a reserve that our body can call on. When it has no reserve to call on, will it take it from areas that you're not using, and will it steal it? Yes, it will. So the most important thing to think of is it's not what you eat on a daily basis. It is what you have eaten the day before, the day before, the day before. Okay, so if any of you ever go and follow something like intermittent fasting, because you fast for 16 hours doesn't mean that you lose all your muscle. Okay, you have been eating adequate amounts of protein, which have supplied your muscles and supplied the rest of your body with amino acids that it needs. It can hold on to those and store them, any additional. And if you are fasting, when you do get that protein intake, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so if I fasted and I hadn't eaten protein in a week, is the likelihood of me losing muscle tissue high? Yes, it is. So if I've eaten enough protein the day before, the likelihood of me losing muscle tissue in a very short space of time is very minimal to no. Okay, you will lose water and you will lose muscle glycogen pretty much first. And not to, I watched a documentary on hunger strikes, and in order for you to lose muscle tissue, you're talking upwards of 28 days before that happens. Okay, so we're not suddenly all going to be super skinny and lost all this muscle when we go to set foot back in the gym here in a couple of months. The likelihood of what has happened is we're not exercising that muscle as frequent or as tough as we were, because we probably don't have the resources in a gym that we do back home. For some people, that's not going to be a case. But what will happen is when you train your biceps, right, and then you eat carbohydrates, your body is going to draw water and carbs into your biceps, right? They're going to feel tight. They're going to feel pumped. Now, what will happen is if you're not doing that, okay, if you are not training that muscle group, what will happen is you will lose muscle glycogen from that area first. Okay, so again, if you were, training the muscle group and it feels big and it feels tight and feels strong, and then you stop training the muscle, you're going to think, oh my God, I've lost so much muscle. You haven't lost muscle. You haven't been exercising. You haven't been putting the nutrients to where it was going previously. So you've got no excess water and no muscle glycogen in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot of people always say this, like, we've been in quarantine 2 weeks and they're like, oh my God, I've lost so much muscle. I have not lost muscle. Okay. If you've lost strength, it's going to be neurological. It's only because you haven't been able to do the movement or practice the movement. So you become rusty at it and you need to, practice it to get better again. But that should come back. Okay. And a lot of the research will say that if, say I hurt my right arm and I can't train, like, it'll take roughly around about a month before I really lose all the strength that I had. Okay. Not all the strength, but like pretty much the strength that I built up. Now, do you know what could offset this, like, strength loss and make it longer than 30 days? Anybody know? Anybody want to guess, an idea? How can I offset losing muscle tissue if I've injured my arm?
No idea.
I've got another arm. So if I am still lifting, if I am still exercising, if I am still pushing myself, what I'm telling my body hormonally is build muscle tissue, build tissue, right? Now, as these hormones are rushing around my body, okay, I'm not training this specific area, but it will offset the losses that I will get on this opposite side. And again, it's a bit like what we do when we're trying to lose weight. Okay, when we're trying to lose weight, why are we eating an adequate amount of protein and why are we exercising? We're telling our body that we want to build muscle tissue. So in a very, very abstract form, you're telling your body, I want to grow, while in the other form, you're not giving it enough to grow. So what it's thinking to itself is, okay, I really need to keep the muscle tissue that I have in my chest, my shoulders, my arms, and I can only take it from areas where it's non-essential at this moment in time, because I need to keep my chest, arms, and shoulders. So where does the fat start to dissipate from? It starts to go from areas that you're not using, which again is usually stomach, hips, legs, back, low back, stuff like that. Okay, so that's why we exercise when we're trying to lose weight, or all we would do would just be eat less food and lose weight. Okay, we're telling our body we still want to build muscle, even though we can't, and we're still going, I need to hold on to this. It's a survival mechanism. It's pretty much this thing of, if you don't use it, you lose it. If you use it all the time, then your body's like, okay, that's very important to me. I need that. I use that on a daily. That stays. Okay. A bit like everyone has a smartphone, yeah? Everyone's always got to the point where there's no room left in your phone and you have to delete apps.
Yeah.
You're always going to delete the apps you don't use. That's what your body's doing. It's going, okay, well, what could I get rid of here? What's the shit that I'm not using? Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Okay, I need this. That's pretty much what's happening. Okay, so we're giving our body a movement or something to do, and then it will respond chemically and hormonally based on what we've expressed to it. So yeah, we can offset that muscle loss. We can offset that by exercising still currently if you are carrying an injury. So it is important to get people to move and still be active. Okay, so some amino acids are essential for hormone production, what we spoke about, and they are not synthesized in the body. For example, tryptophan. So tryptophan, if we go back, was an essential amino acid that we need to get from our food and our diet. It is essentially as high in oily fish, so you can get it from omega-3, sardines, stuff like this, and it's needed to make thyroid hormones, dopamine, epinephrine, and melatonin. Okay, so thyroid, what does your thyroid do? Anybody know? It regulates your metabolism. Okay, so how quickly that you actually burn through food. Okay, so thyroid, very important. Anybody have any thyroid issues here? No? What you will come up against very, very often is there's a huge amount of people out there that have thyroid conditions, and it's primarily because they have probably Christ dieted like a shit ton over the years, and the medical intervention is to take a tablet called thyroxine. Okay, thyroxine is T4, right? Our body converts T4 to an active form called T3, which our body uses. Okay, so again, get comfortable looking at the thyroid, its function, what it's used for. Now, I do have a client who has lost 13 pounds on our bootcamp who has no thyroid whatsoever. It was taken out. It doesn't mean that she cannot lose weight. The likelihood of her losing weight was always low. She was always told that because you don't have a thyroid, you'll never be able to lose weight. Okay, she proved that wrong. We look at thermodynamics, that still matters. But yeah, get comfortable, talking about thyroid and looking into it. Dopamine. What's dopamine?
Neurotransmitter.
Yep. What does it do for us?
Fast reward motivation.
Yeah, makes us feel good. Yeah, reward. Epinephrine.
Adrenaline.
Yeah, adrenal glands produced by. Melatonin.
Sleep.
Sleep, exactly. So pretty much tryptophan is an important component in making all those. Has anyone ever taken tryptophan supplement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tryptophan is a precursor to a compound called 5-HTP. Has anyone ever taken 5-HTP?
No.
No?
A precursor to serotonin, isn't it, PJ?
Yep. So 5-HTP would be taken, Shay was saying there, as a dopamine as a pleasure-based response to make you feel good, to feel like you've got a reward, which a lot of people use 5-HTP for either suppressing their ability to eat more carbs, right? I'm not saying that it stops you from eating more carbs. It makes you feel like you've had more carbs because it gives you this pleasure response in the head. But most people will have it to help them sleep. Okay? Just to give an example, Lenny, you all know Lenny takes the course.
Yeah.
So his wife went through one of our transformation courses, and near the end she was carb cycling, so she was eating, days she was having carbs, days she was having low to no carbs, and on the days that she wasn't having carbs, she noticed that her sleep was crap. Right? I don't know if anybody has experienced that before. So my, because I was dealing with her nutrition at the time, my protocol was I want you to, and even though it was a no carb day, and I want you to have a bowl of porridge before you go to bed. Has a bowl of porridge, wakes up the next day going, oh my God, that sleep was amazing. Okay, so it was the dopamine, the serotonin response that made her go, oh Jesus, and it helped her relax. The anxiety came down, the stress came down, it improves sleep. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with now with my clients currently. People are highly stressed, highly strung out because of the current pandemic, what's going on, sitting in the house. They're bored also. So when they're bored, they're going to lean more towards hedonic eating, which is eating out of pleasure, just eating out of boredom. And food is a massive mood elevator. So if you're stressed, you're feeling crappy, for girls, maybe going through that time of the month, for both sexes, maybe a breakup, you can turn to food as a way to make yourself feel better. Okay? Because those neurotransmitters in the brain are lighting up your brain like a fireworks display, and it's taking you, oh my God, that's amazing, that tastes awesome, oh, great, okay? Which in turn can help you to sleep because you feel more satiated and more relaxed, okay? Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that food can make you feel good. It's not that it's addictive. Like your body is probably craving this dopamine response. I remember seeing a CT scan of 4 brains. One was a healthy individual with a healthy BMI who regularly exercises. The other was an alcoholic. The third one was someone who was overweight and obese. And the fourth one was a junkie, okay, who took heroin. The person that had the healthy, CT scan, their dopamine response, the gland that produces that response, was about this big, right? The person who was overweight, right, their gland was smaller. The person who obviously was an alcoholic or drugs especially, the gland was even smaller. So your body's ability to produce that happy, satiating, like reward response became more and more diminished. The more drugs that you took, the more food that you ate, the more alcohol that you had. And the best way to think about that is speak to anyone who was hooked on drugs. They will always tell you that there is no hit as good as their first hit. Yeah. Your first bit of chocolate has never been as, like, the second bit has never been as good as the first bit. First bit's always been the best. Especially when you go on Lent for 30 days and then next minute you have a bit of chocolate. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. Okay. So these responses are happening in the body, but that doesn't mean that they're addictive. I spoke about this before. No one's going to Thompson's with a bag of salt, or sorry, a bag of sugar, and like eating sugar in the toilet. Like, no one cares. But does it have a chemical response in the body? Yes. Does that make it addictive? Not necessarily. More than likely, no. Because as I said, we're not having an epidemic where people are, hiding sugar from their family and sitting in their living room shooting up sugar. Okay, so yeah, your body needs to produce these hormones, and yeah, proteins play an important part of that. In terms of your immune function, your body needs to make immunoglobulins, which basically just help your immune system, and these are essential to kill off bacteria and viruses. Another issue with a lack of protein in your diet is that the hemoglobin that is needed and the red blood cells required to be formed properly. Okay, so you need that protein in there as well. This can lead to a type of anemia, and often the vitamins and minerals that are attached to the foods high in proteins are not absorbed by the body. So again, you're losing out the macronutrient, you're not absorbing certain vitamins and minerals. It causes processes within the body for you not to be able to make certain hormones to make the red blood cells healthy and adequate for you to be able to absorb iron, B12, all these different things. So there's always going to be a cascade when you neglect a macronutrient. Okay, so unfortunately this does lead to malnutrition, fatigue, non-healing of wounds, diarrhea, and weight loss. Okay. How much protein is required to build muscle and strength? So as we see here, skeletal muscle that muscle tissue is approximately 72% water, 22% protein, 6% fat. The rest in there, you've got glycogen and minerals. And again, this is a guesstimate. Don't take this. 1 pound of muscle tissue contains approximately 100 grams of protein. Now, that depends on the size of the person, how much muscle tissue they're carrying, and so forth. Okay? So I want to go back to the point of, we were always told that we need to eat something first thing in the morning or we're going to go catabolic. We're going to lose all our muscle tissue. Okay? We've got 1 pound of muscle. Say I have 10 pounds of muscle, which is the equivalent of 1,000 grams of protein based on this theory. Is everybody still with me?
Yeah.
Yep.
I go to bed, I sleep for 8 hours, right? Am I exercising enough to burn 1,000 grams of protein?
Nah.
No.
I'm only rolling around a bed. I'm pretty much not doing anything because I'm sleeping. So people who say, "Oh, you're catabolic in the morning," no, that's bullshit. Like, you just don't lose weight and muscle tissue like that, that easy. The only people who need to maybe eat in the middle of the night before everyone's always in your men's health workouts of the superheroes who have to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and slam a protein shake or they lose muscle tissue. Those type of, and then they do these crazy workouts. Fucking Baines doing workouts on his head. It's so exacerbated and so over the top. But yeah, you're not going to completely lose muscle overnight. You don't need to worry about if you miss a meal. It's not a big deal. For general pop, if they miss a meal, it could be the difference between them overeating or indulging on different foods. For us, it's not a big deal. Okay. So yeah, there's tons of energy, tons of stored glycogen in our cells, in our body. We do need to top it up, but we're not going to go completely catabolic there. So theoretically, an athlete would have to ingest an extra 14 grams of protein per day, okay, to obviously build more strength and more muscle. Although most experts believe the single most important fact in building lean mass, as long as training is there, is to consume enough calories. Okay, so forgetting about protein aside, if I was trying to bulk and add lean muscle tissue, what's the macronutrient you would increase?
Carbs.
Carbs.
Okay, Juliana, why?
Carbs.
Yeah, but any particular reason why?
Because they keep the glycogen. I mean,
yeah, they supply glycogen to the muscle. Like, we can only get so much benefit out of eating protein. Like, whereas carbohydrates, we can fill our muscle bellies. We can give ourselves energy to go and train. We can give ourselves energy to recover. The carbs will draw water. And if we're looking at it, 70% of our muscle is water. It's drawing water into the cell. I'm sure everyone's familiar. Of somebody who is somebody who eats carbs. Has anyone ever went keto?
Yeah.
Yeah. You notice a difference? I think we talked about this before, did we, Shay? When you've gone keto compared to when you're taking carbs on board, the difference in your body shape and physique.
Yeah, it was the leanest I'd ever got in my life when I cut out carbs.
Yep.
I was thinking, PJ, that it might necessarily have been the fact that I lost body fat. It might have been just losing water.
You definitely would have lost water and glycogen on the front end.
Yeah.
Those first couple of weeks. That's why if I ever put someone on a keto diet, which is very, very minimal to none, I always tell them the first 2 weeks I'm not interested in, because the first 2 weeks are you drop a 5 or 6 pounds straight away type thing, and then it will level off. You know what I mean? And then that process is when your body starts converting to ketosis. It starts converting proteins and fats into a source of fuel, glucose. So there's a transition period, but yeah, you look completely different. As Juliano says, if you have a high carb diet, your physique is going to look better. You're going to look tighter. You're going to look bigger. Your muscle belly is going to look fuller. You're going to have better shape. So yeah, if you're trying to increase size and strength, your primary macronutrient is going to be carbs. We can't do, if we know that 20 to 40 grams is the dose, somewhere in between there, every meal, and we're getting sufficient protein, it's not going to have any more magical benefit by eating more protein. And what do more people want to eat? They want to eat more carbs. What's the other differences? Protein is very filling, where carbs you could probably eat more of. So yeah, there's all these different benefits. So eating more calories, and increasing your fats and your carbs, or maybe your carbs, whatever one you want to do, they would be my two things that, you know, we talk about. Again, if I talk back to what Isaac had sent me, increase your calories, where should I increase them? Increase them in carbs. You're already getting an adequate enough amount of protein, just increase your carbs. If you're that worried about putting on weight, then increase your fats. But as long as you increase your calories. So calories are the most important thing. Therefore, to ensure the body has sufficient energy, you need to be having an extra 200 to 400 calories daily. And I don't know if anybody in here has kids. Usually the recommended intake is an additional 500 calories, 400 to 500 calories on top of what your current eating is. Yeah.
I'm doing that anyway. I'm doing that anyway. Nobody's stress. I'm getting my kids.
There you go. So that's the recommended. So even if you were pregnant, you're only, you know, asked to have an additional 500 calories a day. Well, not asked to, that you can do whatever you want, but that's the going sort of thing. Okay. So you're eating for someone else, you're eating to supply that. If you're trying to build more muscle tissue, you need more calories. Okay. Let's see how many slides we've got here. Okay, we'll go up to 8 and then we'll take a break for 15 minutes, yeah? Okay. So protein supplements. So it's confusing to sort through all the advertisements, all the shit that's thrown at you about what you should be doing, what you should be taking. You need to take this for this and this for that and that for that and so forth. Okay, so it's obviously having a heads up is beneficial. There's a lot of protein brands and different types of proteins out there. How do you know which ones actually work? How can you find out, you know, do you believe in the bullshit that the biggest dude in the gym is telling you? So how do we know protein actually works?
Putting on, if you're gaining weight and you're gaining muscle mass and you're gaining strength in the gym, I think you could come to the conclusion that it's definitely helping.
I'm glad you said helping. Yeah.
Yeah, not the sole driving factor.
Because like we said earlier, it's hard to actually turn around and say that that is the determining factor that's, you know, helping me, which a lot of people do. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody has a protein deficiency, they're not getting enough on their diet, and now they take 2 protein shakes a day, and suddenly they notice that they're getting stronger and they're getting a little bit bigger. Oh my God, protein's brilliant. Probably should have been eating more. But yeah. Anybody else? No? So pretty much protein is the dog's balls, right? There's too much research out there done on thousands of studies to show that protein helps to increase lean muscle mass. But again, that's all in accordance with a diet that gives you sufficient calories that stimulates muscle protein synthesis. So if we look at an basic protein shake, you're talking anywhere between 20 to 30 grams of protein per serving, okay? Which falls into the category that we spoke about earlier of the 20 to 40 grams of stimulating muscle protein synthesis. The good thing about it is it has been manufactured that there is not a lot of digestion needed. So it can get in the bloodstream really, really quickly. It is a very, very cheap way to get protein intake into your diet very, very quickly. And it's convenient as hell. Okay, so I think the way I look at protein powders is I don't look at it as a supplement. I look at it as a food, right? It's a food. It's a necessary food. Not for me, but everybody and my clients. It's just too easy to have in your diet. And people are like, oh, it's not that cheap. It's expensive. Your gold standard whey, your 2.27 kilo tub is £48, right? Retail price is £48. You get 73 servings, right? If you took one a day, that is over 2 months, okay, worth of servings. You are getting, what's that? Less than £24 a month, right? A chicken breast to get the same amount of serving is £1. A protein shake is anywhere between 50 to 70p a serving for the same amount of protein as the £1 chicken. So how is it more expensive? It's not. Like, it may look more expensive on the front end, but you're getting more value out of it. Okay, so it is a non-negotiable for me. If somebody doesn't want to take it, that's grand. But I just say I just think that's stupid. But it's up to you. Unless they're lactose intolerant, we'll do a beef protein or we'll do other stuff. Okay. Do you believe in bro science? There is a lot of bro science good out there. I think that goes back to what we were saying, which is, you know, your meathead who goes, well, 20 grams of protein is all I need, but 40 must be better, 60 must be better, 80 must be better. Nah, not necessarily. Benefits: save you money when compared to buying meat, probably. They contain, because they've been created, they will contain all the essential amino acids that you need, and probably some of the non-essential. They have a low amount of fat and carbs in them, okay, because they are primarily a protein-based product. They're a lot more convenient, handy, and then they obviously have, you know, a lot better benefit in terms of getting into the bloodstream and helping you recover post-training. So if you've got a pump in your legs and you've trained your legs, instead of you eating food and then that blood coming to your gut, you've put in, you know, a protein shake in there. We can get those nutrients shuttled to the cells that need them there and then without any digestion. Okay, so again, it has its benefits. Oh, there's 2 slides on it. Okay, whole milk protein powders. So we've got milk protein is removed from lactose and fat by a separation process that keeps both elements untouched. Milk is made up of 2 compounds or 2 components. These are casein and whey. So pretty much normal milk is 80% casein, 20% whey. And what casein is a slow release protein. Whey protein is a more faster acting protein. And the 2 main ones that you will probably see is either a whey protein concentrate, a whey protein isolate. One of the more common ones you're seeing and one of your best like forms of protein is hydrolyzed protein or protein hydrosolate or whey hydrosolate, which just basically means that the protein has been even digested down even further. It's in your bloodstream even quicker. But all you're going to do is you're going to pay more money for more convenience. Okay, so milk protein concentrate, depending on the quality, is probably going to be around about, you know, 60 to 90%, if even, of protein in that. Very low lactose tolerant, but it will have lactose in it, or lactose amount in it, sorry, but it will have lactose in. Created by a filtration process which forces the milk through a permeable membrane. Okay, so when we look at quality of brands, we look at the quality of how well the protein has been separated. So there is a cold press way to separate protein, and there's a warm press. Warm means it is heated up. When it's heated up, it can affect the protein that's in the actual milk. Okay, so it can cause potential issues of denaturing the product, and then obviously not getting as good a quality or as much protein in that batch. If you have cold press, which a lot of the big brands will do, you're getting a better quality of protein, better quality of you know, protein content in there. You have milk protein isolate, okay, which is made by extracting the whey and the casein from skimmed milk. The milk protein isolate is made by washing out the lactose, get rid of the lactose, and it has a high percentage of protein. So it's a bit like your Phage yogurt, your Fahey yogurt. Has everyone had that before? 0% yogurts? Yeah. When you go 0%, what happens is because you're straining the fat out, the protein content is naturally higher. And everyone's always seen the watery stuff in their yogurt.
Yeah.
That is actually your whey protein. Do not throw that out. Eat it.
I throw that out all the time.
Same.
I trade it.
Mix it in. Yep, that's where the primary amount of whey protein is coming from. There you go. There's a simple tip for you. Okay, so if you do have someone who can't really tolerate milk that well, who's lactose intolerant, a milk protein isolate may be something that they can handle. More than likely they can. If not, you can buy beef protein and so forth. Casein protein, one of the major components of milk are the globules. Okay, so there'll be fat things in it. These don't dissolve or mix in liquid easily, and this is the main reason why they take longer to digest. So longer, if we remember back to carbohydrates, longer molecules, like longer saccharides, longer fat molecules or triglycerides, makes it harder to break down. Caseins produce slow and continual release because it takes longer to break down. And then some of the terminology that you may want to look out for: caseinate, which is easy to mix, means easily mixed with water. Micellar casein, which is a slow digestion. Hydrolyzed, which means obviously it's been broken down to a better quality form of, protein. Has anyone ever taken a casein product before?
No.
Nope.
No. It has really died out these last 10 years. Like, what used to happen is you used to buy 2 tubs of protein. You bought your whey protein and you bought your casein protein. You had your whey before training and after training. You had your casein at night before you went to bed so that it drip fed your muscles throughout the night. That was the shit that we did back in the day. And now people are going, fuck eating at night. Like, your body is actually repairing itself while it's sleeping. If you think about it, one of the major components of, intermittent fasting and stuff is when your body's not worrying about digesting, breaking down food, turning that food into energy, it now has a role to play because it doesn't have to worry about that. It can worry about, cleaning cells, repairing cells, like helping your body producing growth hormone, helping you sleep more efficiently. So people now value sleep more important in terms of muscle building than they do of drip feeding their muscles while they sleep at night. Because if you're eating food, it's interrupting those processes of growth hormone, REM, your basic natural circadian rhythms of sleep pattern, which help us recover and help us build muscle tissue and stuff as well. So casein has died out a lot in the last 10 years or so. Whey protein, easy to mix with fluids, rapidly absorbed and digested, makes them an excellent choice before and after your training session. You'll see a lot of proteins will have these immune system benefits, all these added things to make the product even better or to be absorbed better. Beta-lactoglobulin, which is a large component of it. Acto-lactoalbumin, which is a relatively small component. Bovine serum albumin peptides plays an important role as an antioxidant. Immunoglobulins that boost your immune system and aid recovery. Lactoferrin and lactoperoxidase that support and boost your immune system. So a lot of the big quality brands will put these additional things in the context. We'll take a break there, folks. We'll see you in about 10-15 minutes.
Yep.
And we'll get the rest of these slides done. There's about 5 or 6 just left. Okay. Good. And we'll start back at this whey protein.
Thank you.
Hello, dog. Hello, dog. Isn't that? Isn't that? How you feeling? I knew you would have been, and then see when I seen you go into the back, I was like, oh, he's going to come himself. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, less is more. We'll do something tomorrow if you're feeling up to it, or Saturday, but no worries. Take it easy, don't be doing anything crazy. Good. Like, was she tell you about his thing? So he doesn't know that I know. So the man had snuck the letter around and said you want to research and then digging. So it didn't look too promising, but it was just like if the nozzles are small, pretty much alright. When they get bigger, the way I was looking at it is it says when it gets bigger, it can be cancerous, but the way I was looking at it is if he does go for another scan and they're small, at least they know about it, they can keep an eye on it. So I sort of don't want to tell mommy what I found because that will freak her out. So I'll say this, it's all good, and they just have a chat with the dad. Yeah, so I know. Yeah, the stronger stuff. If he's anything like in his moment, tell us, he'll probably do that for 100. He'll probably smoke us all the day and not have any moment. Yeah, all good. Actually, more or less didn't do much today. I more or less took a day off, which is great. Teaching students at the minute, so just on a break, and then I'm back on the laptop speaking to them. So, 100%. That's it. I know. Well, there's not more else you can do. Like even this week, I have 7. But see, shows you're there. What do you get? Solid. You're on a bad. You've had too many steaks in your day. Good. Yeah. No worries. Your daughter's great friend. That's why. What's you anyway? Thank you for that, Sean, by the way. Thank you very much. Yeah, a little. Hello. 3 pennies or something. Little's real. I don't know. Huh? Tommy Snyder. Jesus Christ, that's normal. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Okay, bye. No worries, Sean. See you soon. I'll give you a taxi later on. Right, bye. 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 Good. Alexa, lay it on. Oh. And we're back. How we all feeling?
Good.
Yep. I just had
good.
I just had steak and sweet potato. It was unreal.
I just inhaled a half a box of Celebrations.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
I would love chocolate right now. Really would. I don't think my chins would like it though. Is everybody back?
Yep.
Yep. Who's talking on the phone? Okay. So we just basically finished off with casein and then basically some of the compounds that are in whey protein. And then here's obviously an example of your whey concentrate and your whey protein isolate. Okay, so the concentrate, again, anywhere between sort of 70 to 90% protein content in it. They do have some additional fats and carbs combined with it. The lengthiest to be absorbed and digested by the body. Now, do not get under any illusion that this length is a really, really long period of time. It's not. It's pretty much, it's very quick, but in relation to a whey protein isolate or a protein hydrosolate, it's a bit slower. Okay, so don't be thinking, oh, but this whey protein concentrate is too slow to get into my body. It's getting into your body, it's just the difference is maybe 15-20 minutes. So what you're paying for is that little bit more convenience. If you can see from this gold standard whey, from the side here, if I zoom in, we've got 24 grams of protein. Yeah. I can't remember if this is fat. This is fat or this is carbs, but either or, your carbs and your fats anywhere between 4 to 6 grams. Okay. Now, does anybody here take a diet whey or has taken a diet whey in the past?
Yep.
Yeah.
I have.
Okay. Which one do you remember?
PhD.
PhD.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, PhD diet whey.
Same.
Yep. And why did you take it? I know the title gives it away, but if you can tell me.
How to lose weight.
Calories were lower.
Okay.
I think. I can't remember because the calories are lower.
Okay. Was it the same amount of protein?
Oh, can't remember.
So pretty much you've been duped. If you want to put it like that. Everyone's had like Nimble bread, haven't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So Nimble bread is like half the amount of calories in normal bread. You know why that is? It's half the size and it's half the thickness. It is still bread. It is still the exact same product. And PhD diet whey and any diet whey is still the same product. What makes it different? It doesn't matter if you add green tea extract and you add L-carnitine to the product. The product is still the same product. So if you look at the scoop in PhD whey, the scoop is half the size. So you're actually still getting half the protein content that you would normally in a normal way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull this up if I can. What's on your screens at the minute there?
Still your slide.
The slide? Okay.
Yeah.
Slide, yeah.
Let me see, I'll stop that share and I'll go. All right, so we've got our PhD that way, yep.
Yep.
Let's get in there. Product information. Okay. Calories. CLA in there now. Flaxseed. This over here. Sorry, just for a sec. Product information. Per 25 gram scoop, right, you are getting 17 grams of protein. So a 50 gram scoop, right, which if we go back to, where is this? Sorry. If we go back to this keynote, you're getting 24 grams of Optimum Nutrition whey protein for probably about, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 grams per scoop. So the difference is actually negligible. What you are only getting in there in this product of PhD is they've started to put in 7 milligrams of caffeine, right? Which is pretty much fuck all, by the way. And they're telling you they're putting in flaxseed and CLA and all this sort of stuff, which again could have an impact. But lo and behold, when you get to the short and curlies, it's pretty much the same product. Are we back on slides here? Can everyone see slides?
On slides, yeah.
All slides, okay. So whey protein one. So it's pretty much the same sort of product. So try not to get duped unless you know what you're looking for. If you want more CLA, you want more green tea extract in your diet, supplement it. You know, it'll last you longer rather than trying to buy a PhD that way. So I just wanted to make that point because, again, I've been guilty of it in the past. You know, there's not many things I haven't tried or done, so I can say these things from experience, especially when you go and look into them. Your whey protein isolates around 90% protein with obviously minimal carb or fat content, and this makes it a lot, quicker to digest. Unfortunately, due to some of the filtration methods, some of the benefits are lost in translation. But most of this stuff with Optimum Nutrition, everyone would agree that's one of the leading brands, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know where it's made?
America, no?
Anybody else want to have a guess?
You gonna say Belfast?
No, unfortunately not.
No.
It is made in Ireland. Connecticut is made in Ireland. We have some of the best cows in the world, right? I know that's hard to believe, us actually being good at something, but Ireland is pretty much up there alongside the likes of New Zealand, and Switzerland, of having some of the best cows in the world. So we make some of the best milk, some of the best butters, and some of the best whey proteins, and that's why we have a lot of high quality brands. But pretty much, having that quality there is probably one of the reasons why ON is probably one of the better brands. Just to go back to a story, like a lot of people get very anal about this, and it was one of the parts I was thinking when I was talking about the diet whey. I once had a guy come into the gym, one of the first gyms that we owned, and asked did I sell whey protein. I said yes. Say I showed him this tub of Optimum Nutrition. I was like, is that good for you, bud? Nah, bud. I was looking something with 0 carbs in it, or it's got too much carbs in it, right? Now, the reason why I bring this story up, because it constitutes why people do not see the forest through the trees. There is 4 grams of carbs per serving. If you cannot sacrifice 4 grams of carbs in a fucking shake, or any, and in your diet at all, there's something seriously wrong with your diet. Like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, it's 4 grams. It's 16 calories. Like, it's not a big deal. But people have this anal, oh no, I'm on 0 carbs. You cannot have 0 carbs. Vegetables are carbohydrates. You need them in your diet. So sometimes you'll get people who go really, really anal. No, I only have a diet whey. Why? Because I'm losing weight. A whey does the same job. You know, so just to bring that to highlight. And then all you're really paying for from concentrate to isolate is the quality, and that's it. So you're paying a little bit more to have a little bit faster acting whey. If you're lactose intolerant, it can make a difference, but if you're not, then it's no real point. Other types of protein, goat milk proteins. Has anyone ever had goat milk?
I've had goat milk, yeah.
Yeah, how was it?
Not nice.
Has anyone ever had goat yogurt? Goat yogurt?
Yes, even worse.
That is even worse. That is the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life. Everyone's had like a natural yogurt with no flavor.
I do like goat's cheese, but I mean, anything else.
I'm the same. Goat's cheese. If you have St. Helens Farm is usually the brand over here. Their goat's butter is unreal. Like, it's so good. Goat's cheese, amazing. Goat's milk, goat's yogurt, horrible. Like, if you've ever had like a natural yogurt is it has a bit of a sour taste. Yeah. This goat's one feels like it's been out of date for about 3 weeks. And I remember recommending it to a client once, and there's not many things I recommend to people that I have not taken or done myself, but this was one thing. And then she told me she didn't like it, and I was like, I'm going to try it, see what it's like. Jesus, never again. I just said to her, don't worry, you don't need to eat that anymore. So yeah, and goat's milk is apparently more closely related to human milk. So it's told to be more beneficial than actually cow's milk. So egg protein powder, this is one that was pretty big back in the 2000s and the 90s. There was a company, Gaspari Nutrition. They used a lot of egg proteins in theirs. Easily absorbed, digested, minimal fats and carbs. They just basically taken all the proteins from the whites. Plant-derived proteins, hemp, rice, pea, stuff like that. Hemp in particular, very good for vegans and has a high omega-3 content. So if you're quite inflamed, overweight, have autoimmune conditions, a hemp protein could be good for you. It's going to be a bit pricier. Soy protein. So why should you avoid soy protein? Does anybody know? Has anybody heard the stories behind soy?
Increases estrogen. Yeah.
Okay. Why does it increase estrogen?
So I can't say I know the exact yet, but I've just heard, I've seen studies saying it does. I couldn't tell you how it actually causes it to increase.
Okay. You've actually seen studies, or someone's told you, or?
I mean, I've seen studies on. It's been a while. Like, it was ages ago when I looked at it. Like, I would know how to read academic literature, obviously, because I go to uni and stuff. Like, I know how to use Google Scholar and different. But But I think from what I can remember, it's a wee bit overblown. Like, you'd have to consume a lot of soy protein for your estrogen to go up, but there's a potential risk as far as you can remember.
Yeah, well, pretty much that's what we're going to talk about. There's this myth that if you have soy, it's going to increase estrogen levels in the body, which can lead to, like, the scary thing for guys is it can lead to gyno. It can lead to man boobs. It can lead to this abnormality. That's the way soy was portrayed, right? Now, soy, in fact, is really, really good for us. It has negligible, I couldn't get to it, negligible results, if we can get that, in terms of increasing estrogen. The main reason why is there was some studies that were trying to say that it increased the isoflavones in the body, which then lead to increased estrogen. Like, if we go back to what we spoke about earlier, there's a very hard way to say that estrogen was increased by soy alone. Okay, so there's a hormone in the body called sex-binding hormone globulin. Okay, and its job is to, if there's an imbalance in the body between estrogen and testosterone, its job is to grab any of the free testosterone that's running about and convert it into estrogen. Okay. Now, before we go on this wild goose chase, I always tell people, just like I said to you last week, Shay, about having a Mars bar. I would tell you guys, go and have a break, go and have a soy latte, and tell me, did you develop man boobs or did something happen? If it didn't, the likelihood of it being a very, very minuscule thing to worry about is very, very high, right? So the other thing is, and something that I had to go on for about 5 years, I was sold to go on these fitness courses in terms of nutrition because someone was telling me, on this, nutrition course, we're going to tell you how you optimize your hormones, how you can manage your stress levels and cortisol response, how you can, reverse adrenal fatigue, how you can, boost your metabolism and get your thyroid, all this sort of stuff. And it sounded sexy as hell. Like, it sounded like, fuck, that's the type of shit I need to know to get my clients results, to get people shredded, to do X, Y, and Z. I can tell you in a long, roundabout, long-winded way that in order for you to manipulate those hormones and those processes that happen in the body, what is the first thing that you have to do to even begin any of those processes? Anybody know? What's the first thing that will get them started or get them moving or cause a reaction?
In terms of your hormones,
yeah.
There'll be a few things, but they're not.
Yeah, but what's the first thing before any of these processes even start?
Your dad.
Bingo. 1,000,000%. None of these processes happen. None of these, adrenal fatigue and like surpluses of cortisol and stress hormone, none of that shit happens if you don't eat food. So in order for you to blunt cortisol, which is a stress hormone, you eat food. In order for you to get adrenal fatigue, which is not even a real term, but people can suffer some form of burnout, is you're having too much stimulants and too much caffeine. So instead of going, okay, well, you're going to learn how to optimize all your hormones, well, it starts by what you put in your mouth. Okay? So to save yourselves 10 grand of money and courses, the guy did. Now, obviously, you can manipulate these things to a degree, but it still comes down to diet, certain supplements and so forth. But they are of a minuscule part. And I always say when I go and like I said last week, when I speak to teams or sports or athletes, I always say this same quote: is nutrition will not make you elite, but it can be the difference between elite athletes. And another story comes into my head. If any of you are familiar with the Irish Strength Institute down south, Owen Lacey. They have places in Malahide and Dublin and stuff as well. He's actually the nutritionist for the Azerbaijan wrestling team. Right? Sounds mental, but apparently Azerbaijan are one of the best wrestling teams in the world, and usually win goals in the Olympics. And basically what had happened was he had told those wrestlers that their fillings, which were mercury fillings, they had to be taken out and replaced, okay, with silver or gold, whatever it was. Because the mercury, the effect that had on your thyroid, which then had an effect on toxicity within the body. Right? Now, that is the elite of the elite of the elite, right? Am I going to turn around to you a bit like Phil Richards who's a nutritionist and strength and conditioning coach who owns PRP Supplements, once told a rugby team, you all need to get your fillings replaced, right? And they're all like, Phil, dude, I don't earn that amount of money to go and pay $2,000 to get all my fillings replaced. So sometimes you got to work with what you've got. That they are the minute of details. Okay, they only matter when you've got everything else stacked on top. Okay, so you having a soy protein shake is not going to develop man boobs. It's not going to suddenly go steal your manhood, or it's not suddenly going to develop, for females, estrogen is your best muscle building hormone compared to progesterone. So that may be better for you, but none of these hormonal responses happen in the body unless it comes down to the food that we put into the body in the first place. So if there is a wild nutrient deficiency, if there's a wild imbalance in your hormones, it has probably come down to what you have eaten, okay, or what you're doing to your body to cause that. So if you ever get sold on somebody going, this is how you're going to find out how you manage your cortisol so you can lose that little final part of body fat and so forth, it sounds a lot sexier than it is. It's still going to be the same thing. I went to a seminar in the ISI, a couple of years ago, and I took one thing from it, and it really started to make sense. Fat within the body, okay? Fat is actually an organ, right? So our fat cells are actually organs, right? They send and receive signals. They're a vital part of the body's function. Okay. Now, I asked this guy a question. I think it was Mike Mutzer or Mike Munzer. I think it was. And he's an American guy who was over. He was speaking at this event, and I said to him, I was like, Mike, my job is to get people in shape, to get people shredded. Now, when you have people who have fat-resistant areas, which we all do, low back, hips for some people, arms, whatever it is, and you've got these people in a calorie deficit, and you've got them working their balls off and training sometimes double days. Is there anything in the research that's saying why this is actually happening? And he said one thing, and it really stuck home with me. He says, we're starting to see research now that the actual last bit of fat that you have is actually acting as a buffer to inflammation. Now, inflammation happens from the food that we eat, the physical, inflammation we put on from exercise, the mental inflammation, the inflammation is caused by eating certain foods or whatever it is, or if you have a condition. So your body is actually trying to self-protect itself. I know that sounds stupid there. So those last bits of fat that you have that are stubborn and resistant, yes, they are getting a lack of blood flow. Yes, you probably do need to be in a lower caloric deficit, but there is only a certain amount or a point that you go to. And once I heard that, the way that I told people to do things with their nutrition changed. I used to go in and say, okay, here's what's going to happen. I'm looking at your diet. You've got a shit ton of dairy in there. Let's just take your dairy out. Let's replace those calories. Boom, boom, boom. And I was giving people too many things to do at once, right? And over the long term, it was too many big changes. It was hard to follow. So what I do now is I have a stage process. We start off, calories matter. Bingo, 100%. Let's just get you in a healthy calorie range. We'll work about that. Then when we get to a point, so females, for example, when we get to a point where you're lean and we're trying to get you to the next stage, just that little bit better, then we can start looking at supplements like, calcium D-glutamate. We can look at DIM, crucious vegetable-based products that sort of bind estrogen and get rid of them in the body. We can look at these minute details, and they might make a small difference to bring your physique over. So the point, again, that I want to reiterate is that this is not going to cause massive hormonal imbalances. The research that you see is always based on really small force of evidence, and this has actually been disproven. And the reason why they probably cannot prove it is because there's too many factors for people. Okay, so just coming away from that, the way that I do things now with clients is I put it in a stage process. It's like, how can I make this, like, what's the minimum amount of things that we can do, the easiest thing that we can do to get us moving forward? And then when we meet those requirements, what's the next easiest thing that we can do that makes us do that X, Y, and Z? What's the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing? And so if you remember back to when we talked about, we did body fat calibers and we did weights and measurements, and I talked about biosignature modulation, which was created by Charles Poliquin, who says that fat accumulating in certain areas was based on your hormones and what way your hormones were. And so, like, you would have to learn how to manipulate them and take certain supplements and eat certain foods to improve them. Like, even though that has never been proven and it's probably bullshit, it could give you something to look at as a coach and go, okay, well, I'll try this with my client. As long as you know calories matter, wide variety of foods for nutrient optimization, you know, making sure they get all 3 of their macronutrients. And then if you may want to try something, be my guest, because it's, once they've got to that stage, you're talking about minuscule differences. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So just think of nutrition, what way you work with people is stages. Because I can tell you here and now, like, we coach qualified personal trainers on how to build a business. I could speak for hours on how to do that, but they're just not at the level. They just need to know what the core foundations are that is relevant to them. And the best way I've ever heard a course being described, because like a lot of you guys will love this course and you will not realize how good it is until you go and do a shitty course, like just something online or, like, you know, somewhere else and go, fuck me, the stuff they give was quality. But the way the course was explained to me, someone went, this is the best course I've ever did. And someone wrote back, it wasn't the best course you ever did, because what will happen is you'll go to another course, or that person will go to another course, and it'll be like, oh my God, that's the best course I ever did. The reason why the course was so good was it was pitched at a level that you were able to understand it and rationalize the information. If I come in and I started speaking there, just like we were talking about, you know, advanced supplements, calcium and D-glutamate, DIM, the processes within the body, sac binding, hormone globulin, what happens in all these processes. These are all looking at me right now going, what the fuck? Like, this is shit you don't really need to know. And I went on that way, Goose Chase, and it's like, okay, you know, the basics matter, and they're the things that are going to work. So there's always stages to how you do things, how you coach people nutrition ways, and so forth. But again, to get back, some of these things are just so knowledgeable, like such a small, meaningless proportion that a lot of people blow out. You can only absorb 20 grams. Don't have soy. It'll give you man boobs. Don't do this here because it'll make your... I once had a coach tell someone, not one of my coaches, like a trainer in a different gym I used to work at years ago when I first started, that you should not do hill sprints. Said this to a female. You should not do hill sprints. Why? It gives you fat knees. Hill sprints would be fat knees. That's what they told the person.
Where'd they get that from?
I don't know. I really do not know. Maybe they got fat knees from doing it. I don't know. So then what I used to do is I used to rip the back out of that coach in the class and say, okay, we're all going to do burpees. Now remember, burpees give you fat ankles. People are looking at me like, what? Because you can pretty much just make up anything then. Okay. So we'll go an overview of proteins. So casein protein, the best time to have it is before bedtime or between meals if you're having long gaps between food. It gives you a steady, like, slower release of amino acids, reduces muscle protein breakdown. They all do that. Okay. Whey protein in the morning when you wake up, pre and post workouts. you can pretty much have whey protein anytime you want. I don't agree with this optimal time to take it. Okay, it has a high level of BCAAs, quick release and fast acting, increase the production of muscle proteins. Again, that's just fancy terms for stimulates muscle protein synthesis. Goat's milk in the morning when you wake up pre and post workout. You can pretty much have that anytime. I'd advise you not to have it because it's horrible tasting. I'd probably go with a beef, or even just go for a soy or coconut milk or whatever. Egg protein in the morning when you wake up pre and post workout. Again, have that anytime you want. Still has amino acids. Soy protein in the morning, usually high in glutamine and arginine, fast acting and high in antioxidants. Hemp before bedtime, between meals, again, you can have that anytime you want. High in BCAAs, high in essential fatty acids, and dietary fibers. And then just to go back to soy as a product itself, the reason why soy gets a bad rap and where the isoflavones and the increase in estrogen came from, it came from soy oil. So the oil that they got off the soybean, the actual soybean, if you were to eat soybeans, is actually really fucking good for you. But what happened is the oil is taken from that and then it's made into products, which again is where most of the issues, or what people say happens, currently relates. Okay. When should you consume your protein? In the morning, fast acting whey within 45 minutes of waking up. We know that's bullshit because I get fast till 12 o'clock. It's not a big deal. You know, I'm not going to lose muscle tissue just by waking up and not eating something. Sleeping is actually the longest period your body will go out without food. And again, yes, it doesn't mean that I'm going to die. I've still got a huge amount of glycogen stored in my cells and stored fat for me to actually still be fueled. Breaking your fast with protein is vital because your body's in a catabolic state and amino acids are needed. Again, you are in, you know, a low blood sugar state, but going catabolic, again, that's bullshit. If you did start your day with protein, you have a smaller insulin spike than if you started your day with, you know, Cocoa Pops. Proteins also provide you with a stable source of energy, and they should last you until the mid-morning and beyond. That is dependent on the person. If you are pretty lean, or maybe you don't even eat breakfast, that could last you a long time. Like if you eat and you turn over a huge amount of food and you eat regular meals, that may not last you that long. Like people always go, like, I've been taking protein shakes instead of meal replacement shakes to try and lose weight. Well, there's a reason why meal replacement shakes will last you longer, because they've usually got a bit of fat and some carbs in them. So they're filling you for longer. All you're doing is just having protein. So that's why you're getting hungrier quicker. They don't cause major spikes in insulin levels that are associated with weight and fat gains. Again, if you think back to what we spoke about last week with carbohydrates, insulin does not cause you to be fat, right? Insulin is a storage hormone. I always say this to people. I was like, we turn around and say that the best time to eat carbs is post-workout because we want to get them like into the body, into cells, so we can recover quicker, right? What brings those carbs into cells is insulin. Insulin cannot be a body one day and then be the knight in shining armor the next day. It can't be both ways. Its job is to, you know, move nutrients and put it into cells, whether that's fat cells or muscle cells. So it can't be a goodie on a body. It's, you know, so it can't be that's the reason why we're putting on weight. No, the reason why you're overweight is you're eating more. When you're eating more, your body does have to produce more insulin, which causes maybe insulin resistance in cells, which can have an effect. But the primary purpose is still overconsumption. Was somebody saying something there? Sorry. No. Pre-workout. So fast acting whey about an hour before you go and train. This is obviously going to get amino acids in the bloodstream ready for you and your body to use while you're training. Whey and egg are excellent choice for this. You know, this is probably the primary thing for most people to have. If they work a 9-to-5 job, they're going to go to the gym straight after. You know, they're not going to have a huge meal at their 3 o'clock, you know, mid-afternoon slump, they're probably going to have a protein shake, and I know they could have nuts, or they could have a banana or whatever it is, and they're probably going to have some carbs and some protein in there. So by the time they go to the gym to train at 5 o'clock, like they've got some energy in there. They're not worried about eating a big carb-based heavy meal, sitting there feeling like, oh geez, I want to go to bed before they go to the gym. So for most people, a protein shake before they train, about an hour and a half, is probably one of the things that you're going to see most often. Post-workout, within 45 minutes, again, that window really pretty much comes down to the person that's in front of you. If you have a general pop client who's training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, after your Monday session, does it matter if they slam a protein shake in? No. If you're selling protein shakes and you want to make money, tell them they need a protein shake. It's not going to fucking kill them. Like if you want to say, is it good for you? Yes, it is. Does it do a job? Yes, it is. But again, these companies have a product to sell. It's opportunity for you to supplement protein. Very important time frame as your body's actively recovering, and it's got a heightened awareness. But again, we know that heightened awareness is up there for 48 hours. Your muscle tissue is very susceptible to nutrients and building muscle when you're using whey, casein, and egg along with simple carbs to show you're ready for your next training session. So if we do have someone who is training the next day, or maybe doing a double training session, would you want to get proteins and carbs in there ASAP? Yes, you would. Okay, so again, think of that in terms of context. Simple carbs such as maltodextrin, dextrose, glucose, waxy maize, citric dextrin, Vitargo, all these carb sources will be great at replenishing your body very, very quickly. There's not a lot of digestion involved. Should be straight into the bloodstream pretty quick. Will they raise your insulin levels? Yes, that's anything you eat creates an insulin response. Anything. It doesn't matter if you just eat chicken, you'll get an insulin response. You take a whey protein shake, it creates an insulin response. Okay, so that's why we don't consider insulin to be bad. Okay. Oh, sorry. I thought someone was trying to put something through my door there. See, when should you consume your protein? In between meals. Consuming a protein shake in between meals will obviously make sure you have amino acids, stimulate muscle protein synthesis throughout the day. But remember, you can only stimulate it so long. But if you want to just cover your bases, your muscles need constant feeding, and eating protein snacking will ensure it remains well fed. And protein also stimulates ghrelin, which controls hunger. That's actually a mistake. Ghrelin is what tells you that you're full, that tells you that you're hungry. Leptin is what tells you that you're full. Okay, and then just to give you a little bit of an insight into that, pretty much there you go. So if I say this is ghrelin, yep. So this hormone ghrelin is like, listen, dude, you haven't fed me here. What's going on? Like, it's sending signals to the brain sending signals to the stomach, and the stomach starts to rumble. Yeah? Now, what's happening is as ghrelin is increasing, leptin is decreasing. Okay, so your body's constantly sending signals and hormones all around. So leptin, which tells you that you're full, is down-regulating because it's like, nah, you're not actually full, you need to eat something. Ghrelin starts kicking up. Okay, now, what's the other side to that? Whenever leptin is full, what will happen is leptin will say, listen, we're full, we don't need to eat any more food. Then obviously we look at it in the other aspect, ghrelin comes down. So when do you think ghrelin is at its highest?
In terms of like what time of the day, PJ, or
time of the day, or even when you're doing something? Like when would it be constantly on? It would be constantly heightened when you're dieting. Right? When you're dieting, your body is constantly telling you, listen, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Why? Because you're in a deficit. You're trying to lose body fat. Your body does not want to be where it is. It wants to, stay at this maintenance level. So when you put it below that to lose weight, it's like, dude, come on, I'm hungry here. And then when you do have a meal because you're in a deficit, leptin still isn't getting like the full amount that it needs. Do you know what I mean? So these are the hormonal responses that are happening based on the food and the intake that you're taking there. So that was a slight misprint. It should have said that leptin or protein also stimulates ghrelin, so hunger. Ghrelin is what tells us we are hungry, so that's just slightly behind. But we do know that protein is satiating, so protein is more filling as well. So that's why obviously when we have it, we can't eat shit tons of it. So before bed, for the long fast ahead, consume a casein shake about 30 minutes before you go to sleep. It's anti-catabolic because it contains glutamine, which protects your muscle from breaking down. Again, casein has died off massively. Most people are not going to be taking it, but if you do have someone, it is better to have before you go to bed. Okay, drip feeds the muscles, but I'd be more worried on people actually just having good sleep. Best proteins for a variety of goals, building muscle and strength, all of them. Yeah, protein, again, is a bit like anything. As long as you have those amino acids. Given the context, if you had 20 grams of, nuts and 20 grams of milk, or whatever it is, or both nuts and milk giving you 20 grams of protein of each, across the board, typically your body would process it the exact same way. Obviously, you do need to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, but the likelihood of them both being the same on the body is very, very high. Okay, health and well-being, whey and casein. Again, you can use any of them for health and well-being. Energy and endurance. Branched chain amino acids, simple carbs, probably just carbs. If you're doing endurance, you don't need a huge amount of protein, but you can supplement with it if you want. Sports performance, probably carbs are the most important. Diet and weight loss, any of them can be important. Lean muscle gain, all proteins. Okay. And the last slide that we have. So can you look at this label? 2 level scoops, amount per serving, how many calories, how many protein, how many carbs, how many fats, your essential amino acids and the ratio, non-essential amino acids. Okay. Does anybody remember the amount of leucine that you need to stimulate muscle protein synthesis?
3 grams.
3 grams. How much are you getting there?
You're getting 5.
No, you're getting
milligrams.
Yeah, 2,578 milligrams. It's equivalent of 2.5 grams. So you're getting
That's from 2.5 grams, PJ.
Sorry?
When I said 2.5, I meant 2.5 grams, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so you're getting an adequate amount to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. So that's going to be a good product. That's why protein, it's manufactured for a reason. The same way that Lucozade Sport is manufactured to get carbs into the body quickly. Sometimes we need to look at these things and go, okay, that's a really fast, convenient, manufactured way that solves a problem that I have. Sports drinks, Lucozade Sport really solves a problem of getting hydrated, staying hydrated when I'm exercising for longer than 75 to 90 minutes. Protein solves a problem if you're not getting enough. Okay. So look at the label, and then you have the ingredients down here at the bottom. Look at the label. What type of protein is this? What type of protein? Is it whey? Is it egg? Is it goat? What type is it?
Whey.
Why is that?
Because it says in the ingredients.
Bingo.
Protein.
Some people forget to look at this thing down here. It fucking tells you. It's whey protein. Whey protein concentrate and a whey protein blend. So it's a mixture. And a lot of times people will tell you should not have a blend. It means a lower quality of product. More or less, yeah. But if it's ultra and cross flow, like micro filtered, like this is going to be a dog's balls. This is going to be pretty good quality. And if you know how to read food labels, you know, pretty much the food that is the first ingredient on there is the one that is the most abundant. So if you're eating, you know, Captain Birdseye fish fingers and it's telling you 100% fish, on the back, that will probably tell you that it's 90% fish. The other 10% of the product is the coating, and it'll tell you all the fucking breadcrumbs and all the crap that comes with it. So the most abundant product is in there first. Whenever we do a 30-day clean eating challenge every November with our clients, you know, the ingredient list needs to be less than 5 ingredients on it. The less ingredients, the better, right? So I know that I can have a wholemeal pita bread that only has 5 ingredients compared to a standard bread. You know, it's going to have preservatives, additives, all these other things. And then you've got all these immune system, antioxidant benefits, and then just your flavoring. Okay, so the main ingredients is obviously going to be whey protein. The role of BCAAs to support muscle protein synthesis. Okay, any questions about that? No. If I can give you a little bit of a tip as well, usually some of the lower quality brands of protein will have creatine or glutamine or some other type of product mixed in with it. The reason why they're lower quality, even though they've got more stuff in them, is the fact that food manufacturing companies or food manufacturing labels or the government, whoever decides all that shit, considers those other elements to be like protein. So for example, if you take your Omni MX hardcore whey protein, it's got creatine and glutamine in it and blah, blah, blah. It may tell you that you get 30 grams of protein in there. But if it's telling you that you're getting 5 grams of creatine and 5 grams of glutamine, more than likely what you're getting is 20 grams of protein, 5 grams of creatine, 5 grams of glutamine. But because the government, the way they process that, they just go, oh, well, that's the same as protein, so it's 30 grams. So you'll find that a lot of people will add additives and fillers to bring up their actual protein content on the label. Okay. So now if you're taking an all-in-one product, again, you're getting superfluous amounts of protein, but a lot of it will be fillers as well. Okay.
Yeah.
PJ, say for most of your clients, would you recommend the, like, say protein shakes and stuff, or would you?
Yeah. Like, who do you think you're going to be working with, Cora? Mostly, is it going to be females or males?
Yeah, probably females.
If it's females, the likelihood of them having a low protein intake is probably going to be really high. So getting them into supplement with that is probably a great thing. Another way you could do that, you know, everyone's had like moose juice or, you know, Noco drinks, having this. Yeah, they're like the cool shit. It's just branched chain amino acids in a tin of juice.
Yeah.
So we might say to your friends to take BCAAs or your clients because it tastes good while they train. So yeah, I would recommend it 100%. Most of the meals on my meal plans always have some form of protein in them. So my breakfast options may be a super shake. So if someone is, you know, very busy, doesn't have time to eat breakfast in the morning, can you blend up some protein, banana, frozen veg, some coconut milk or water or whatever it is, blend it all up, take it into, you know, work with you. You know, it takes 5 minutes. So protein porridge, put the protein in the porridge or have a protein shake with your porridge and make sure that you're getting proteins, carbs, and fats in the morning. Throw a scoop of protein in your yogurt. So yeah, it has multiple benefits. I always recommend it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would try and push people towards it more. And here, just on that, like if we understand that Optimum Nutrition is a quality brand, if you go to Home Bargains, you can get a container which has 33 servings. It's not in a tub, it's just in a plastic pouch. Vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry, and it's only 15 quid. So it works out about 50p a serving, which is the cheapest I've found for a good quality whey protein. So there's something for you. Mix it in with whatever you're eating. Just to run through these quickly, where the questions are going to be. They're going to ask you about a sedentary individual, what their intake should be, what the requirement is for a strength athlete. They will ask you how many calories in a gram of protein. They'll also ask you what's more of a vitamins and minerals issue, but what are vegetarians going to be more deficient in? B12, iron, stuff like that. It will ask you what is protein involved in, or like one of these things, like list is protein involved in as a source of energy or transporting nutrients. Bone loss, it's not going to have any on that. Not on that. There is a couple of questions on supplements. Usually everybody does really well on those because everybody is taking every fucking supplement under the sun rather than learn the shit. And there may be I think there's a question on casing, like what is better to have before you go to bed? Whey protein. Yeah, all good. Soy. This is post-workout ground. Cool. Yeah, that's it, folks. Fats next week. Any questions about that? Anybody have any issues of trying to understand any of this the last couple of weeks? No.
No.
No, I'm all good.
It is pretty much like anything that you learn on this course, like the more you go over it, the better you're going to be. So if you do need to go over the videos, the good thing is now that we've got them all saved, so you can pretty much go through every slide now and have me explain it, and it's all there for you. So yeah, like when are you doing your exam, your MP?
I think it's next week.
Yeah, I think it's next week.
Yeah. And then it'll be this exam. Like I have quizzes and stuff that I can give you. Like don't worry about the nutrition presentation until after this exam as well. Like the last thing you need is more pressure and more stuff to learn. But just keep your eyes on this, keep it ticking over. Like I'll point out where the questions are going to be. The quizzes that I give are pretty good. They're pretty much what is going to be on the exam, but it's obviously going to be written in a different way. Yeah. And then even just play about with your own nutrition. If you need a hand, send me a message. I'll give you some advice as well. Cool, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll upload it. It'll be split probably in 2 videos, so I'll upload it and then I'll get it into the group for anybody that hasn't seen it. So have a great evening, folks, whatever you're doing for the rest of it.
Perfect.
Right,
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Right, boss. See you later.